Just when you thought it was over, Horror Fest returns again like a great villain in a horror movie. Welcome, everybody, here to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups, and tonight I have an extremely extravagant and awesome assemblage of the excitable PCP crew to talk to you about the Friday the 13th film franchise. That's right. It's Friday the 13th. Happy Friday the 13th. You know what? It's 2020. It's Friday the 13th. Let's make the best of it. Let's hang out. Let's reminisce about our recent revisit of Friday the 13th, the entire film franchise. Tonight, we'll be talking about all 12 films. And I want you out there in the PCP Army to station and get involved into the chat with us tonight. We got the man himself, the co-founder of PCP, one of my best friends, but out of everybody that I know that loves Friday the 13th, this is my homie that loves Friday the 13th the most. Is John Hammer Time Holtshoe.
Glad to be here, man. Excited. Sorry I missed the one Halloween. You know, I had to work, but I'm thinking with my new work schedule, I'll be able to do more shows and stuff. And Friday the 13th, what a way, to come back on the show. What a franchise. You know what I'm saying? Jason, and scared the shit out of me as a kid. I lived out in the woods, and so I thought Jason was real. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know. I was a little kid. I probably shouldn't have been watching them at 7 years old, but
Well, we all were, right? I mean,
yeah, we all were little kids, man. And my mom wouldn't let me watch that stuff, but when she was away, my dad didn't care. And so I watched a lot of crazy shit, but a lot of that was Friday the 13th films.
Hell yeah, at the video store. Speaking of video stores, I used to work with this homie at one, and it's good old Javis. Jelani, what's up, my man?
What's up, man? Good to be here. Yeah, what's up, Hammer Time? Chilling out. Feels good, man, to do these movies. It was a lot of them. I didn't know I was going to complete them, but it's a lot of them to get through, and it's awesome.
We all had plenty of notice, but I'll tell you this, I had to watch 1.5 today. Speaking of 1.5 a day, that's Dylan. What's up? That's his middle name in high school. That's what they called him. His nickname in high school is 1.5 a day. I don't know what that's a reference to. But Dylan, my man, welcome. Friday 13th. Happy Friday 13th, my brother.
What's going on? That is the weirdest intro you've ever done for me.
You just roll with it sometimes. When the Teen Dog shades are on, you never know what's coming. Speaking of you never know what's coming, well, Brooks, that's obvious. It's the Mario Master Mutant Micro Monster Master Machine. Brooks, how are you doing, my homie?
Good.
Happy Friday 13th. He actually got the head start on watching these. He bought this DVD set or something at Walmart for $20 and just binged 8 of them 2 months ago, right, Brooks?
Yeah.
Good intro. Anyway, we're all excited to be here. Welcome, PCP Army, everybody. On the PCP crew, if you could, with me, station.
I think I do the thing. What is it?
We are reclaiming station here, but let's get on to Friday the 13th. So we're going to be talking about this film and the franchise, and we want you out there in the chat to get involved with us. I see a bunch of people already. Billy, Big A, we got Jay, Tacky, Fable, Hypatia. We got Sam Fett. Hell yeah, Chad, 1-2 Comic Talk. Perry, what's up, my man?
Fable.
PK's back cave. Somebody's got their YouTube on very loudly.
Oh, you can't see it.
Who is that?
That ain't me.
Check. Okay, it's over now. Whoever it was fixed it. Anyway.
Taco.
What's up, Stefan? What's up, everybody in the chat? So, overall thoughts on the franchise. Friday the 13th. If you would have asked me years past, and John can attest to this, so can Brooks and Jelani. They've known me for a long time. I would have always said Friday 13th slash films, not really my thing. I like Halloween. I like Freddy, obviously, but that's a little bit more supernatural for me. Friday 13th's got a tinge of supernaturalness to it, but I don't know. To me, it was just always something that was never really my favorite. I don't really have a lot of Jason memorabilia, and that's probably a testament to this. But getting the new Blu-ray set, it seemed like the perfect time, especially with November 13th, to revisit these films. So I did. And actually, looking at my ratings that I'm going to give these films, I think I like the Friday the 13th franchise. I think I like it a lot. I I mean, obviously, it's what people think of when they think of slasher films. There was literally one in every year of the 80s, except for like 2 years, right? So like they were cranking these movies out. And I remember me, John, Jelani Brooks, we were growing up as kids in the 80s, and that Jason was everywhere. And that's all. I mean, we knew the iconic mask, we knew the character, we knew all of that stuff before we even saw any of these films. And then with the rise of the video store, we watched a lot of these films. And I've always had an affinity for them, but I've always kind of held them lower on a pedestal compared to the other modern horror franchises like Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, right? Even Hellraiser. On this rewatch, I got to take all that back. This is a great franchise. It stands true. I think it starts incredibly strong. It has some weak moments, but they all do. And they all get wild at the sixth film. And I think this is the best sixth film in a horror film franchise. I think it's better than Freddy's Dead. I think it's better than Curse of Michael Myers.
Wow.
Jason's Lives. But what do you think about the franchise overall? Hammer time. Bullshit.
I think it's great. I'm happy you've came around a bit on it. When you said, I was like, what's your favorite horror film? And you said, well, my favorite slasher is Michael Myers. Friday the 13th's okay. And then you bought this box set. And I'm like, he's buying this box set. He's not a hardcore Friday the 13th fan. And I'm happy you've come around because I think there's more good than bad. There's misses. You know, some films are strong with weird spaces and, you know, parts of the films could be better. There's some films that are weak. But overall, if you look at all the films as a whole, there's way more good than bad. And I can't say that for there's a lot of horror that have more misses than this franchise. So, and some incredible kills. And Jason, you're right. He's iconic. Whether you like him or not, you know, that the big dumbass hockey mask wearing thug is part of pop culture, and he always will be.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I've come up on it. You know, I had a lot of fun revisiting this. And the reason why I had to buy the Scream Factory box set was because I didn't get the Halloween box set that they did, the elaborate one. And that's very expensive now. So I wanted to get on this before it got too expensive. And the idea of having all the Friday the 13th films in one box set, like right there, that's not a very common occurrence to get.
How about that packaging? The slip covers, everything is great. By the way,
beautiful, and they have the reversible sleeves and all that stuff. I love it. Speaking of reversible sleeves, Jelani's always wearing reversible sleeves on his sweaters for some reason, but he can reverse the sleeve on the sweater and make it even wilder. Speaking of wild, Jelani, what do you think about this franchise?
Wow, weird stretch, bro. But hey, it was awesome. And I do have to say this. Some of them blur together to me. A lot of the films go together. But Jason, in most of these films, especially with Kane Hodder, it becomes this entity. Like once he's dead, once they kill him, and then they bring him back, it's some of his kills and the fact he's just an unstoppable killing machine. The whole every alliteration of Jason, he's told by a different director, different writers. It's cheaply made. It's got all of these things going against it that make it so clean going all the way through, because he's a killer and he just kills camp counselors and kids that are doing drugs and having sex. It's really simple. It's the ills, and I know it's based off of horror, like those tales that people tell at campfires. And
campfire tales.
Campfire tales all together. Yeah.
Camptown races.
You know, and it's a great story to do that with. And it's horrible, it's scary, and it's cool at parts, it's cheesy in others. There's a couple of movies in this series that suck, but overall, it's a decent watch. And it has the best kill I've ever seen, and we're getting to it.
Yeah, you know it. You mentioned it being a little goofy, a little cheesy, but still good and fun. Speaking of all that, that's Dylan Comics right there. My man Dylan, what do you think about this franchise overall?
I love it, man. I feel just like how Hammer Time does, man. I'd say there's a lot more good than there is bad. I actually probably say I like every single one of these. I mean, like I could take some bad things out of, you know, Jason Goes to Manhattan or Jason Goes to Hell, but I still enjoy those films, honestly. Yeah. I probably enjoy them a lot more than I should, too. And I actually I like that box set because it'll show some of the stuff that the MPA cut out all those years ago.
Yeah.
And you see, man, that Kane Hodder, for all the fame he gets for being the most popular Jason, he got screwed back in the days, man.
Oh yes.
Because of all those kills that like he would have been, like sometimes you watch them now and they're a little bit more tame because they would cut some of
They
that.
cut away. Yeah.
Yeah, man, they cut away, and he dude, he's definitely the best Jason. It kills me about Freddy versus Jason, dog. I mean,
Yeah.
Kurt Karzinger or whatever, he's like the worst of them, worst of all the Jasons. But
I think he's an okay Jason, but I
he's
think
okay,
that
but
Kane
his
Hodder
credit-
deserved to be in that spot. He's
Yeah.
the one that played Jason the most. In fact, the only one that played him
Yeah.
over multiple films, right?
It
But what
is,
you
yeah.
said about
Yeah.
you said about the MPAA cutting out all the stuff, like that really does suck about this franchise.
Oh yeah.
big.
You know, it is
You're
because
wrong.
they get weaker as it goes, and then they
Yeah.
kind of like rebound a little bit, but it's always getting cut. It's getting cut up like crazy. And like
Yeah.
whatever scene there was, what movie was that? Was it part 5? I think there's a scene where he like crushes this dude's head, right?
Yeah.
And all you see is like a little bit of blood
Never
come out and
see
it
it.
cuts. But like I just watched like this video that's the uncut part, and he literally crushes this dude's head like a tomato,
Yeah.
and everything is
Yeah.
gushing out of it. And I'm like, what really is deserved of this? It's not just an elaborate box set like this, but uncut or unrated versions of all the films.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that's what this franchise, because it truly needs to be like. I mean, everybody, we're into some stuff. You know, we're into Italian horror around here. You know, and Friday the 13th deserves to have that full uncut treatment. I think. Speaking of uncut treatment, Brooks, what do you think about this franchise?
I like these movies. Like I know a lot of them aren't good, but at the same time, like they are enjoyable to me. It's like, how I said the Halloween movies were kind of like the bones of slasher movies. Friday the 13th is like the meat, they're like the flesh of they kind of flesh out a lot of the slasher tropes come from these movies, especially, I think. And considering how like ridiculous Jason's story is, it's kind of amazing that he's become so popular, because like they never really explain much of anything about him. Like he's just like, is he a resurrected zombie boy? Is he like just a crazed hillbilly? Like, you don't really get any answers. You just get different Jasons pretty much.
It's the Jasons of many worlds theory. It's something that I've been building up for this elaborate 5-year plan I have for Blade and Marvel Comics. I'm hoping they can get the rights to Jason Voorhees. But no, just kidding. No, but you're right. Like it could be any of those things. And I hate sometimes the idea that really, honestly, it's probably just that he didn't drown. He was just living in the forest for forever. And his mom just thought he was dead and she went crazy. And then he gets all shooken up by her death. But why? Like, why didn't you just tell her, hey, Mom, I'm alive? Because obviously he was the zombie. He comes alive at the end of 1. He's a kid. And the second movie takes place 5 years later. And he's like a full grown on man with all this, like this luscious head of hair. This skullet. The most luscious skullet I've ever seen. But anyway, let's get into.
It really is, though,
You're in love
Robbie.
with Jason, man.
I'm surprised you didn't peep on it, though. And Jason Goes to Hell, the Necronomicon's in that shit.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
the director of that was
It is
saying
there.
that he wanted to say that Jason's mom.
Yeah.
What did Brooks do?
I think Brooks's dog did something. Anyway, I'm one of the guys that did Jason Go to Hell. He said that he wanted the idea to be that Jason's mom read from the Necronomicon to resurrect Jason, and therefore he is a Deadite. And that's why they were trying to build into the Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. And at one point, Pinhead was supposed to be involved. And that was
cool.
That was like a 10-year long
You
movie.
don't even have to technically be a Deadite. He'd be just some fucking resurrected zombie monster or something,
You mean a
But,
Deadite?
yeah, I guess that's a Deadite, anyways.
Well, I guess Deadites are possessed by demons, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what they are. Yeah.
And if he's a demon, he can be like this little worm parasitic thing
God
going
damn
from
it.
body to body. Anyway,
Fuck.
let's get on a more positive note. We're going to talk about our favorite Jason. And right now, I want everybody out there in the chat to shout out your favorite Jason, and then we will We will try to go back and highlight your comments. Hammer Time Holshoe, who's your favorite Jason and what movie in particular?
Kane Hodder and is Smelly Jason in Part 7, A New Blood. And he got that nickname. Just throw that out there. He got that nickname. He's wearing so much stuff and so much makeup. And they were filming in Alabama. And it was so hot that he was sweating profusely. So he got the nickname from the cast, Smelly Jason. But as Part 7, A New Blood, I think he looks badass. I like that they kept the. Oh, if you will elaborate later, let's go on to the next. I'm sorry, I'm kind of ranting.
No, you can elaborate it right now. Like, what do you like about him?
I like the fact that they kept the damage from the previous films. You know what I'm saying? They don't always do that. So Part 7 had the damage from 6 and 5 and 4. They had the damage to the mask, and he's got a more decayed body, and you can start seeing his bones. I mean, I love that costume. I think the best costume in the series. And I think Kane Hodder did a great job, and a lot of us associate Kane Hodder as being Jason. He wasn't in all the films, but that was one of the films he was in. And he did a great job, and especially when they unmask him, it's terrifying because he was already scary in the previous films, but now he's even more decayed and decrepit underneath the mask. Oh, man, I love that version of Jason.
Yeah, it's a great looking Jason. On this rewatch, that's the best looking Jason. I want that figure. It comes out in like January or February. The next figure for that comes out, and it looks amazing. It's a great performance. It's Kane Hodder's first performance, first of 4, and that's the Jason I grew up with. You know, that slimy, the bones sticking out in the back. Like, I love it. It's
being able to see the spine is amazing.
Yeah. Speaking of seeing the spine, Delaney, who's your favorite Jason? In particular, which movie?
My favorite Jason, I guess that would be Kane Hodder. And I think he's in Jason Lives, right? He's also in Jason Lives.
No, he's not in that one.
Well, who is the guy that was in
DJ
Jason
Graham.
Lives? That was DJ Graham. Okay.
I heard it was Corey Feldman.
I picked him because his face is like gnarled. It's so gross because he's coming back. I mean, it's the worst. And plus he gets the cool ass tool belt.
Yeah,
so
he does have that cool. Yeah, he does have that cool belt.
Tool belt Jason. He's got the maggots and the makeup and the face. Yeah, it looks great.
It looks amazing. I love that. I don't know why. Just he kills Horshack. It's little things like that. Yes. It's little things like that I like. I liked his mannerisms. I like the way he looked in that. Now, and I hate to do this. I don't want to kill anybody, but I do want to put Kane Hodder in one, and that's Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh yeah.
And we will talk about
this too. That's even if you don't like the film, he does a great job, and he looks great in it.
When he's wet, Jason, like it looks like he came right out of the ocean and stuff, and he's walking down like the Times Square.
Who knew that Camp Crystal Lake connected to the ocean? What are the fucking odds?
Yeah, it does, and we'll get to it. Speaking of connecting to the ocean, Dylan connects to the ocean. Dylan, who's your favorite Jason in particular? Which film?
Yeah, bro, I'm your regular Aquaman. Man, well, it's
I'm
hard,
sorry, dude.
man.
If I took yours,
Delaney took mine as always. Tool Belt Jason is one of my favorites, but honestly, it's a toss up all the time. I'll go with the one who no one would ever suspect it. Part 5, Jason, Roy. Roy gets more bodies in one movie than Jason got in all of his movies, his separate movies. And honestly, people who hate on it just because the ending and they're like, "Oh, it's not Jason." Well, then turn it off as soon as he falls into the big.
That's what we tell people about. That's what we tell people about Near Dark. Just turn it off.
Turn it off.
They're dead. Just turn it off.
Exactly. Who cares about all that blood transfusion crap? But man, I love Part 5. Man. I love it. It's actually that's Part 5. I'd say is when it heightened all the violence and all the gnarly ass kills. Part 6 went more cartoony and self-aware, but the kills were still badass in Part 6. Part 7 is where the MPAA really started to screw them. But,
Oh yeah,
You
definitely.
can tell. You can tell. I was
It's a
like,
bummer, man.
oh, these were robbery
It
kills.
Takes Manhattan's probably the most neutered one though.
It
Like
definitely is. Oh yeah.
that one has way more
Oh, yeah.
potential there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of having way more potential than they ever display, Brooks, who's your favorite Jason and in which movie?
I actually like Jason Takes Manhattan Jason because he always looks like he's just come out of the lake. Like he's always got that moist look to him.
He's wet.
Moist. Like a brownie.
That's what I think of when I think of Jason is like some creature that just came out of the water, you know.
So not
That-
wet, moist. That's the one you're sticking with.
Man,
Moist.
what's up with Freddy versus Jason? Him being scared of the water too. It's like, man,
That's bullshit. Yeah, he's gone through so much water.
He's
Yeah.
never scared ever of the water.
Yeah.
I get the point if you like ignore all the other films, but yeah.
Exactly.
Y'all have some good choices. A lot of Kane Hodder. I love the Tool Belt Jason picks right there.
Yeah,
But if I had to honestly think of it, first of all, I think honestly one of the best looking ones is Kane Hodder in New Blood. Like that one is crazy. And New Blood is always a film I was a little bit down on, but I actually liked it a lot more on this rewatch. In particular, because it's probably one of the best looking Jasons. It's just so
yeah.
gnarly.
That's some of the best fights, man. On top of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But one of my
That's
absolute
awesome.
favorite Jasons that I got to give respect to is Richard Brooker in Part 3. That is a frantic, simple-minded, right to the point Jason, not so like clever, but like there's something about him that's spooky. Like when he's looking through the window,
Yeah.
you know, or when he just
Oh,
looks
yeah.
at the woman and he takes his
He's
mask
so
off
creepy.
just to fuck with her, and he's like, "Ugh," and he puts it back on. Like I love that Jason, and I actually really like 3, and we will be getting into that. So we asked everybody who their favorite Jasons were. Let's see if I miss anything. Let's see. Kane Hodder, Jason X.
Yeah.
I like in
Yeah.
Jason X that you get to see more of his eyes, but at times, for
Yeah.
the most part, I don't want to see his eyes. You know? So
Yeah. But they're red when he turns into a
one
cyborg.
eye, though.
Fable says Tool Belt Jason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, it's the coolest. I'm surprised Kane Hodder got it too, because it was because of John Carl Buechler for real. Because CJ Graham killed it, man.
Yeah.
Jason, you've changed. Part 5, Jason wasn't even Jason. But I will say this: the person who does play Jason in the dream sequences, whoever that was really cool.
That's Jason.
Like
yeah.
with the worms coming out and everything of his mask.
Yeah.
That's really cool stuff right there.
Oh yeah, the very beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Mike Zero likes Jason X. Now, when you guys SoFlo, Jim, what's up, buddy? Says Jason X. Now, when you say Jason X, are you talking about pre-Uber Jason, or are you talking about Uber Jason? Because that's the distinction right there. But now we're going to talk about our favorite non-Jason character, our favorite hero, actually, of the franchise. John, why don't you kick us off? Actually, I'm going to kick us off. I forgot about this because I'm going to go ahead and say Tommy Jarvis. Tommy was the only one who appeared over
Which
multiple
Tommy?
films.
Which Tommy?
Here's the thing. I'm going to say this. He's the only one that appeared over multiple films. And in particular, I like him in Part 6. The guy that played him was the guy that was in Return of the Living Dead. I think he gave the best performance. He's a little too timid in Part 5 for me, but I like the journey of the character, the idea there, but they never really quite gave him what he needed.
He needs to be Loomis.
He needed to be a bigger arc.
Or
He needed to have more. It was just like when they teased at the end of Halloween 4 that Jamie was going to be the next Jason, and then they never delivered on it, right? So they teased that Tommy is going to be the next Jason at the end of final chapter. Then they allude to the idea very poorly, because you have no idea who the possible killer really is. They are trying to lead you to believe that it's Tommy, right? Or that Jason is somehow back with a different mask, but turns out to be, Roy, the ambulance driver whose son got killed in the beginning of the movie by somebody completely different, not Jason, but I actually love Part 5, but I really like him in Part 6 because he becomes a little bit more action oriented. It's kind of like the way they did Mike in Phantasm 2, where they got a little bit more Evil Dead with it. You know what I'm saying? A little bit more adventurous with it. And so I really like Tommy, and my favorite Tommy is in Jason Lives. Brief thoughts on Tommy and your favorite Tommy, Hammer Time.
I would say probably the Tommy from Part 6. I forget the actor's name, but I really liked him. I watched Jason Lives probably the most. Like I like the other two films with Tommy Jarvis, but it was part 6 that for some reason I watched, I don't know, 1,000 times as a kid, probably because my cousin had it on VHS and I borrowed it, and I don't think I ever gave it back. I just kept rewatching it. So, and that's weird. If you think about 4 and 5, he looks like he could be the same guy, and he matured a little bit. An actor, it's obviously not Corey Feldman, but part 6 doesn't even look close to him.
Close.
They didn't even try. But I like him because he's more of a, like, I don't know, he seems like more of a hero. You know what I'm saying? Seems less scared and more less like
even though it is his dumbass that sets off the whole fucking
It's all his fault.
Delaney. What's your favorite version of Tommy?
I like the Corey Feldman Tommy because he's adventurous. He's a young kid. He's got, he sees boobs for the first time and he's like, oh wow.
His reactions are the weirdest. Man, I'm serious. The way he's jumping on the bed, it's so weird. He's
just a weird kid, and like Tom Savini.
He's apparently a prodigy when it comes to special effects.
Making masks, yeah. So he makes masks, and all the Tom Savini work they put in there with him, and it looks like he created it. So it was kind of like Tom Savini, like on paper, how he is. Yeah. I like that character just for that part, and the fact he goes ape shit at the end. It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's like this cute little kid. Die!
Dylan, who's your favorite Tommy?
Yeah. Probably part 5, honestly, man. I mean, growing up, it would have been Corey Feldman, just because, I grew up on Feldman movies, but I don't know, man. I like that one. The part 5 Tommy is the most, like, complex one, where he's so timid, like you said, where he's like on edge at all times, and having bad dreams.
Slams that guy.
He does. He's still a good Tommy.
He is, man. Honestly, I
just wish they would have focused more on him.
I would have kept him. I would have kept him as Tommy. Yeah. Absolutely, he should have been that character though all the way through.
He was whooping ass in that one. Tom Matthews did a great job too, but honestly, I don't know why. Like, I always went more to the other guy. I forget his name, though, but I always liked him, man. He was always just whooping dudes' asses, man. I thought that was always just so funny, like, where he's literally on edge at all times, know?
Apache agrees. And number 5, Tommy acted like a PTSD guy. He acted timid, sure, and maybe that's lame, but it's kind of realistic, and that is definitely something we're going for, weak and vulnerable. I just wish they would have focused more on him. That's all. Brooks, what about your favorite Tommy?
I think he froze.
Brooks froze? I couldn't tell.
Part 5 is my favorite because
Brooks didn't freeze.
He definitely froze.
Yeah, everybody just disappeared all of a sudden. I was like, what the fuck?
Okay, all right, let's go on there. I couldn't tell because Brooks usually just like this.
Yeah, like part 5 Tommy, I think, like, because like Corey Feldman Tommy, he's just like this dumb kid, and part 6 Tommy is an idiot who brings Jason back to life. Like, I think part 5 Tommy's like the most sensible one, and he kind of gets to kick ass a little bit, like when dude like ambushes him, he like just starts beating the crap out of him. Like you can tell he's got problems, but he's like you can also tell he's been thinking about what am I going to do if Jason comes back. Like, he's been like preparing himself in a way.
He's got the worst haircut out of all of them, though.
Yeah,
he kind of looks like a dickhead, to be honest. Like, really.
I'm gonna jump in here and point out that I just now realized that the part 6 Tommy is the guy from Return of the Living Dead, and I didn't realize that was the same.
Part 2.
Yeah, I just said that.
Yeah,
I said that.
He's in part 2, though. Not part 1, part 2.
No, he's in part 1
He might be in both then. It's Tom Matthews.
Yeah, Tom Matthews. Yeah, he's in both.
Yeah, I know. Okay. I know he's in part 2.
Yeah, he's in part 2 and he's in part 1.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was even him, and it looks just like him. I'm such a jackass.
I thought he died in the first one, though. I swear I thought he died in the first one.
I think he did.
He did die in the first one. He's still in the second one.
Oh, he must be.
I haven't seen 2 in forever. The one I've seen 1 the most, and I really remember 3 because when I was a kid, I was very disturbed by 3. because
Oh,
I
man.
thought
That's
3
But
disturbed me
story.
because it turned me on in weird ways, and I wasn't ready
Yeah.
for it at
Is
that
that the
young
one with the
age.
redhead on the poster?
Yeah.
it's so fun.
She
bro.
starts.
1 and 3,
Yeah.
1 and 3 are my favorites too.
All right,
2 is
moving
a little
on.
bit different though.
Moving on. What is your favorite other character aside from Jason and Tommy? Hammer time.
I would go with Tina. I'm a big fan of Part 7, and Tina is a badass. You know, obviously Tommy is sort of the Nancy or the I forget Jamie Lee Curtis's character. You know,
Lori?
like the main enemy of Jason is definitely Tommy. He's got a recurring role, and I like how they set that up. But then you bring in Tina, and they're like, oh, she's just a knockoff Carrie. She still whoops his ass.
Dude.
I love how she brings him back accidentally. I think it's a cool concept. And I really think the showdown is amazing because that's the first time he's not fighting a mere mortal. You know what I'm saying? That's when he gets a real showdown, and she beats the shit out of him. So I think Tina is freaking awesome. I'd love to see more Tina.
You know, they wanted to bring her back for Part 8. That was supposed to be her as the final girl in Part 8, but she wanted apparently too much money for their budget because, you know, they had to rent a cruise ship. And I think most of their budget really went to filming in New York for 2 days, which
Yeah.
that's why you can tell they only filmed there for 2 days. And you can tell you actually get more epic New York shots at times from Zombie, which they just went there with a boatload of Italian actors and just unloaded them on the
Just
bridge.
filmed it.
Anyway, Jelani, what is your favorite other hero character aside from Tom?
I'm gonna say I don't know their names, so I'm gonna do. It'll be the girl counselor from Part 2 when she puts on the sweater.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
She coaxes Jason.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
talking about God, what's her name?
I can't remember her name.
Amy Steeler is the actress, right?
I guess so. Yeah,
what's her
I like her a
character?
lot.
I think her name's what is it? Amy, Alice, or
Is
no,
it
it's
Alice?
Ginny.
Alice is the first
Jenny.
one.
Yeah,
Ginny.
yeah,
It's Amy
okay.
Steele that plays Ginny.
Oh,
Yeah, she's
I
great.
like her. I like her as a character. She's very strong. She's capable. I like that how she handles that Jason scene. She handles it very well. It's something Alice should have done if Alice had that option, but she, of course, didn't. But I want, yeah, if you're gonna have a final girl like that, I really like her as that character, so I would go with her.
I like her too. I think she's a very
Yeah.
one of the strongest final girls in the series,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Dylan, what about you?
Man, it's hard. It's really hard.
That's
Honestly,
what she
man, I would say, and yeah, I know, man, that is what she said. I'd say Jared Padalecki's character from the remake.
Okay.
Play Clay, man. And he always like the guys who did that movie. He reminds me of the guy from Part 4, and the guy
He's looking
who's,
for
like,
his sister,
Yeah,
right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
exactly.
he's killing me.
Like,
Run!
he's killing me. He's
Oh,
killing
God.
me. Oh God!
Jason is stabbing me repeatedly.
I am
He's stabbing me.
I'm dying.
A lot of
Best
blood is
ever.
coming out of my body, and I'm
Best
dying.
death ever.
That's so. It's like you don't even see a lot of it, but you're just like you can just tell, man. That's a horrible murder.
Yeah.
That's a horrible murder.
He's literally just like narrating his own death. But yeah, he does remind me of that character in very strongly.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites though, man. He's just badass, and I love him from Supernatural too. So it was cool to see him. And it's actually funny that both those Supernatural guys, they've only done like one movie in the entire time of them doing Supernatural.
And the
One
remakes.
does Friday, and then, yeah, both remakes, and then Dean did My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, if they could have both got some because I honestly like the remake, so I don't see why they shouldn't have got sequels. I think they could have done better in the sequels. So it was kind of like a reboot in their own way, you know, where they fit like the first three movies into, you know what I'm saying, one movie.
Yeah, I kind of like the way they kind of did that. I do like his character because he comes up against the probably the biggest douchebag in the entire series. Is that the guy that owns that cat, or his dad owns that
Yeah.
cabin, or whatever?
The
The guy
blonde
that's like,
silver hair.
your tits are stupendous, like
Yeah.
you know that guy. And he goes up against him, but like he's got this like anger that's like fuming beneath. You know, that's pretty solid he's pretty decent. I like him. I think he's a
Yeah.
good one. And he gets to have the moment where Jason pops through the window at him. Speaking of popping through the window, Brooks does this all the time. Actually, Jelani popped through my window one time and broke my Ash statue. Do you remember that,
You
Jelani?
passed. Bring it up.
That's funny.
motherfucker.
Brooks, who's your other favorite
Yeah.
character?
I actually think Alice is mine because I think she has to face the scariest killer in a Friday the 13th movie. For me personally, which is Pamela Voorhees. Because like Pamela Voorhees, I find her way scarier than Jason. And you know, she has that memorable line. It's a boy. What happened to the boy?
Yeah. She gets that great scene in the boat too, and then of course she comes back for part 2 and she gets killed.
Gets got.
Yeah.
And that
She's
starts that
the
tradition.
first Jason kill.
Yeah. He hunts her ass down. You know, you took
Yeah.
my mom's head.
It's like actually the most like deserved kill Jason ever did too, actually.
Those are some good picks. Good picks. Fable actually has got a good one. He says Betsy Palmer as Mrs. Voorhees for me. She scared me
Yeah.
more than Jason, just like that's exactly what Brooks
Yep.
said. Yeah, Betsy Palmer was truly frightening. Really, really was.
She is
Absolutely.
psychotic in that movie, man.
Yeah.
The supernatural guys are hot, absolutely. I'm a Dean fan myself, but
Same here.
From the show Supernatural, or just guys that are supernatural like Jason Voorhees?
we're talking about from the show Supernatural. Let's talk about the
Okay.
music real quick. Music.
All right.
This is what's crazy is that the music is mostly done by one guy throughout the entire franchise. It's Harry Manfredini, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh, the guy that owns the pizza parlor.
no, but he didn't do. I think he didn't do 7. I think he gets a co-composing credit because they still use a lot of his stuff, and he didn't do 8 because they filmed that mostly in Canada, and they got like a credit or something to hire Canadian people. So that was the one movie where they were like, "We're just going to go with a Canadian bro. It's going to save us money."
They got a good ass song though for that. The opening.
Yeah, they did, but they came back. He came back in 9 and 10. He does some really cool stuff. I want to point out a couple of my favorite bits. I'm going to ask you guys what you think about the music. I first of all really love his score in part 10, Jason X, because it feels very Christopher Young Hellraiser to me. It feels epic, but it's the most different out of all of them. Now, I love his score for the original and how it evolves throughout the franchise. He wanted, in the first one, a lot of people don't notice this, but he didn't add music for any character. The music is only there to represent the killer. So it's Mrs. Voorhees in this instance, right? But like the music is there to represent the actions and the atmosphere of the killer. And I think that that's something really crazy. It does feel very Psycho at times, but Psycho was so iconic that like as saying, this is how you wink, wink, wink. But the way they did it, and then of course the killer, and he took he did all that stuff. That's amazing. I love the opening theme in part 3, the disco theme. I freaking love that one. I love the music in part 6 because it really harkens back to the Universal Monster classics, and that's what they were trying to do with that film, and something I really enjoy. Also want to point out that Alice Cooper did a lot of the soundtrack for part 6, and I really want to say that Teenage Frankenstein is one of my absolute favorites there, and that was part of the Constrictor album, was part of that whole thing too. That was when I really first started noticing Alice Cooper as a kid and getting into his music, right? Because I had a best friend whose brother was really into horror films, and he had like all the memorabilia and the posters and the standees and all that kind of stuff, and that was really how another entry into all that kind of stuff for me. But I also want to give a big shout out to that whatever song it is in Jason Takes Manhattan, where it's like fallen angels in the dead of night, something like that. It's so cheesy, and I love it when they have these cheesy ass songs in these 80 horror movies. What do you think about the music overall? Harry Manfredini scores, of course, but just the music overall holds you in the series.
I just think it's shit. No, I'm kidding. I think it's great. I didn't realize how much he composed. Like you said, 8 was done in Canada, so it was composed by a moose, I think. But with the exception of that, I didn't realize he did X. So he did 1 through 10, with the exception of 8. And it's great. I mean, you go back and listen to it. It's really terrifying. I mean, it works. And it definitely is not the same soundtrack. I think there's some composers who are guilty of doing multiple films in a franchise and not deviating from that soundtrack. And I think that he evolved, or at least, kind of gave us different takes.
Definitely in some of them. What's interesting is that in like 2 and 3, he like only composed like 6 or 7 new pieces of music, and then they just reused a lot of stuff and they cut it to the film, obviously. And I think that's why he gets a credit in Sevens, because they used some of his previous score. But he kept building on it throughout. And
he's the John Williams of the Friday the 13th franchise.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he's great stuff. Do you like the Alice Cooper stuff too? From
Dude, I
Jason
love
Lewis?
Alice Cooper. How do you not like Alice Cooper?
I've seen him live, man.
I don't trust people who don't like Alice Cooper. That's my motto.
That's a good motto. That's also Jelani's motto. Jelani, what do you think about the music of the franchise?
Man, I mean, it was good. It did a lot. Frank Manfredini did a great job with the Friday the 13th the series music, and I love that music. Like,
he did the series as well. The show.
Yeah,
you know, he also did the score on House, man.
Yeah.
Which was a really good score.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so he does evolve in each movie. I would say, actually, Robbie, I would take yours from Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm setting it up for you, bro.
Great. And like, as we go through these movies,
the rolling credits music. It's like a Rambo film, right?
Yeah, that's the first Jason movie I ever watched, and it was quite possibly the worst one, but I didn't know that as a kid. So I watched it and I was still scared, and it still had these things. But yeah, it's little things from that movie that bring me out a lot. And it was that song at the end. It's so special.
You know, he's also got a good score, and you know, I don't want to mention another one in case somebody else wants to pick it. So Dylan, what about you? What do you think about the music of the franchise?
I love it. The Harry Manfredini stuff is iconic, and Part 3 is one of my favorites too. I absolutely love. I know you guys kept saying it. It's The Darkest Side of the Night in Part 9. Jason Goes to Manhattan. I love that.
Part 8, young man. That's Part 8. Just saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's Part 8, young man.
I forgot.
I don't know the numbers either.
Jason Goes to Hell. Even though I like Jason Goes to Hell, I always still forget it. Like I always think it's Jason Goes to Manhattan.
It's an easy one to forget.
Exactly. Even though I don't mind it that bad, but yeah, man, I think just the score is phenomenal. I mean, it's iconic as hell, you know. And Jason X, that was another one I wanted to say. That's probably my all-time favorite, though.
That's great. That kind of sounds like Christopher Young's Hellraiser, doesn't it? It gets
it's like iconic. It's like big and masterful, and like when he comes in, like it seems like it just seems like bigger scale and more. I guess they're trying to do that like futuristic type thing. I don't know, but I think it's bigger than anything in all the others.
It's great, dude.
You want to know what's funny? That was the only Friday the 13th soundtrack I had, and I looked a few years ago. It was out of print. That soundtrack, the Jason X one, was going for like $100 or something, man. At one point, because it was just so impossible. Because the film
download an MP3, y'all. Listen to it on YouTube. You know, somebody's got it up there. Jesus,
you know it, yeah.
That's what I do. That'd be a dangerous road. If I bought a record player, that'd be a dangerous road collecting horror movie vinyls. Woo! I just watch a few YouTube channels, man. Speaking of watching a few YouTube channels, Brooks, what do you think about the music in the franchise?
I like it, you know, and it has this, like, considering how different each movie is, like each soundtrack, you know, fits each movie, I think, pretty well. As in particular, the opening theme to 3 is one that kind of gets stuck in my head, you know, doom, doom, doom.
The Disco Jason soundtrack.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Of course, the Alice Cooper Man Behind the Mask.
Oh, the man, that's a great one.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's on that Constrictor album, and it's just so amazing. Oh my goodness, the music is amazing in the franchise. So I'm glad we got to speak on that. Now we talked about the MPAA really kind of cut the hell out of a lot of the gore in these franchises. Though there are a few of these films that have some nice gory kills that would make even Dario Argento proud. But I would love to see the Argento cut of any Friday the 13th film. with the Goblin score. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Anyway,
Yeah,
right now what we're doing, everybody, is top 3 favorite kills in the franchise, and then
you're
we're
gonna
going
take people's
each
kills.
movie. So I will start because I know people may repeat. Number 3 for me is Baby Oh Baby. That's the kill in part 5 where Juana Man goes into the outhouse to take a shit.
Ooh, baby. Ooh,
And his
baby.
girlfriend shows up.
Ooh, baby. Ooh,
His
baby.
girlfriend shows up. I'm hearing a major echo from someone, so check that out. But his girlfriend shows up and they start singing to each other, "Baby, oh baby," and all that kind of shit, right? And it's absolutely hilarious to me. This dude is taking a shit, and him and his lady are singing to each other, right, outside. And then she gets got, but then he gets killed. And I just want to say this. I'm not just pointing it out because the idea that they're singing to each other is ridiculous, which it is, and it cracks me up every time I see it. Plus, it's Juana Man. But
It is. I don't even know that guy's name.
Actual death is really good. Like the way he gets stabbed with the machete through the outhouse, like through him, and he like has a really good death. My next one is going to be Punch Out. Mike Tyson's Punch Out on the rooftop, and Jason takes
Why gotta
Manhattan.
be both black men? I gotta worry about you. I'm watching
Well,
you.
I just love these kills because first of all, this dude, it's like a minute and a half of this dude giving it all to Jason on this rooftop, and he ain't got nothing. His knuckles are bleeding. He's like, "Give me your best shot." Jason just knocks his head off. Now it's not as good as the Killer Clowns bit, where he's like, "What are you going to do? Knock me my block off?" And my number one though is Freeze Face from Jason X.
Oh,
I mean, that's like honestly the best one. I'm not going to mention it too much because I know a lot of people love that one, but it's iconic. It's great, and it's one of the highlights of that film. John, your top 3 favorite Jason kills?
Well, definitely the Jason X, the freezing the head and smashing. I wouldn't put that in my top 5 films, but he's got some great kills, and that liquid nitrogen is just such a badass scene. What an awesome scene! So not only does he put her head in there and freeze her, but then of course
John froze in honor of the kill. John
Internet
froze.
ghost.
So that's nice.
Nice.
There,
Wow.
he's back. He's back.
I don't know what happened there.
No, that was a nice trick. You were talking about the freeze face.
Yeah.
You were perfect.
Yeah, he smashed her face. Other one would be I really like part 7 when the girl in the sleeping bag, which they do kind of a throwback in X, by the way.
Yep.
She goes in the sleeping bag and he smashes it against to get away from Jason. She goes in the sleeping bag, he smashes against a tree. I guess the original cut, I guess he smashed against a tree multiple times, but this is one of the films that they cut the shit out of.
Why can't we not get uncut versions of Friday the 13th films? All of them. We live in a world where hustle exists. Like we can watch Zombie, we can watch any Argento film, we can watch any of the Bava films, we can watch any of the Romero films, we can watch the grossest, nastiest stuff. I can cut it up for intros here on live movie reviews on YouTube.
The thing is, we just finally got those slash scenes too on that box set. Those are like never before seen slash.
Yeah, but they're not integrated into the movie though, right?
They need to put those in the movie.
You notice a lot
part
of them
7
are like VHS cuts with no sound either. So it's like, damn, bro, they really like just tossed all them extra cuts to the side and shit.
Imagine the time and effort that went into some of those really graphic scenes.
Yeah.
By the makeup people and the effects people, just for it to be cut. Frustrating. And then last one I want to mention is Freddy versus Jason. The guy in the folding bed.
Yes.
Jason stabbed him multiple times. And he folds the bed up.
That's a little bit of as overkill, man. And I love it, right?
Yeah.
We see a lot of viciousness in Jason in that scene.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
He wants to make sure this fucker's dead. Plus, that guy's a big douchebag, right? He was treating that lady wrong. Plus, that girl, she had a bad trek in that movie, man. She had a bad trek in that movie. She did. I feel really bad for that character.
And it still died, man.
I just want to point out to everybody that David fucking Hatch is here. David Hatch.
David Hatch.
I haven't seen him all week. I was concerned. I was like, "Where's David Hatch?" I'm glad you're here, brother. All right, Jelani, top 3 favorite kills.
Well, you've gotten most of them, so I will retread them for fun. Although I will go in order with this. One of my best kill is that Joey kid from The New Beginning. The one with the chocolate bar that gets killed. That's
Oh my
Sheriff's son.
Wait, you're talking about somebody who wasn't actually killed by Jason?
Bruh, I hated that character. You don't understand. The worst part about we'll get. I'm sure we're getting to the films, but we're gonna get to this part. Listen, that kid deserved to die. Like, if I was
Oh
a guy
my
with an
goodness,
axe
Delaney. Watch what you
and
say.
everything. Oh, well, I didn't mean to say it like that, but like, I mean to say, but
We all
He
know
was
Oh my
antagonizing that dude. You know what I'm
since
saying?
Jason, technically, since Jason wasn't in that movie, although at the beginning, whatever, but because he's not in that movie, I love that kill. It is so clean. It's just like, you're out of line. And like, he's just this goober thing, and then like that guy just snaps and
He
just,
does.
just axes him to death. I don't know what it is about that. And then like the scene after that where everybody's standing outside and the dude like pulls the sheet up and everybody's standing outside looking at it, and he's all hacked to death, and they're like, oh no! And the guy's just like popping bubble gum and talking about it. I don't know. Something about that scene. I love that scene.
We got a lot of people out there liking the sleeping bag scene in particular.
But yeah, number
Oh,
two
yeah,
is my
that's the
sleeping
flag.
bag scene.
Real quick though,
That's
this
like
is that your number two? You got it. If you've never seen
Right,
the uncut version, you got to look it up on YouTube or something. It's great.
I've
right?
seen it. It's the thing is, yeah, he hits that girl one time, but that's it. That's all he needs to do. I mean,
Yeah.
but over
In
yeah.
X, in X, they
Yeah.
recreate that scene in X, and they do a good
several
job.
times, and yeah, they do a great job in Jason X. We're getting to that too, but I love when he beats in Jason X when he's beating the one girl with the other girl.
Yes.
great.
Yes.
That's great. I'm like, yeah, and they're like, oh yeah, that's cool. So
It's not a kill, but I love when he like cuts that dude's
Right.
fucking arm off and he's not even unfrozen yet.
right, It's just- but of course, the number one kill, which I mean, Robbie and Holshu have mentioned, is the kill with the what is that frozen stuff? Carbon
It's
dioxide,
liquid nitrogen.
liquid nitrogen, and he just freezes that girl's face. She's dead. He pulls her out and then busts her
Smashes.
face. I love that scene.
It's one of the
You know
best.
what I mean?
Even people that hate that movie love that kill.
I love
Yeah.
that kill. It's like
Fable's
something-
got a good one that I almost put on my my list was the wheelchair kid in part two.
I was gonna
Oh,
do
down
one.
the steps too. Afterwards.
Oh, babe,
That's a
oh,
good kill.
dude,
That's an excellent
take
kill.
your mind.
Oh damn, Fabe! I shouldn't have gone to it yet, Dylan. All right, Jelani,
It's
that
all
was a nice top three. That was a nice one, right?
I like that
good.
kill. All right. Go
What
ahead.
about you, Dylan?
What was the third kill you said, Julian? My bad.
No, it was the face kill, but from Jason X.
Oh, I got you.
The liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your nitrogen kill?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna see. All the ones you guys said, no doubt. I like the one in part 5. This one is like I get like happy when this one happens because the guy annoys me so much in part 5. The hillbilly son, he's riding the bike in circles.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck up! I'll make you a good stew. I love your stew, Mama. That guy, he-
nasty ass dude,
Yeah.
too.
He just wants to get a stew on, man. Ain't just two adults trying to get a stew on, man.
That he is, man. I love that scene though. The part I was gonna say part 2 would have been the wheelchair one. I was
The
trying to
wheelchair. Yeah.
come up with a different one. I always love that one. I used to always get it mixed up and think that was in part 1, but
It's two.
it's
That
part
poor
2. It's
wheelchair
part-
guy.
Yeah, and honestly, that's like the best kill in part 2 because
It is. It is.
some of that stuff can be a little goofy when him and the blonde guy at the end are like wrestling around, you know. But first would be because no one's even mentioned this, the Jason
Run.
X kill or the Jason Goes to Hell kill when they're in the tent and he like splits her chest like down the middle.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
bro.
It's one of the
dude.
most gruesome kills in the
That is
entire
awful.
series. Honestly,
You're right.
no, without a doubt.
Because she dead. She
Dude,
dead.
oh my god! And I guess like they got like a full body cast of that girl's like so they could do that. And man, just I couldn't even imagine like just doing those like those scenes are like they're doing that like all day. Like even I was gonna mention like with the fight and Jason Goes to Manhattan. Like he when he says he's they were talking to the actors like to do the or for the discs, and he's like, man, you see my hands like that? And he's like, they were really like that because I'm punching Kane Hodder like all day long, So man, I couldn't even imagine doing that shit, let alone a kill like that. That would have been some crazy shit, man.
Absolutely.
Sitting there like that.
Very nice list, Dylan. What about you, Brooks? Top 3 favorite kills?
My number 3 would probably be from Jason Takes Manhattan. The snobby guy, Charles, I think his name was. He gets like shoved into a barrel of toxic
Oh
water.
yeah, the old dude.
I hated that fucker. Yeah,
He had
I
that
hated
coming
that.
to him, man, for taunting
He
that
did.
girl.
Throwing that girl in the water. What an ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Keep
second
it
one would be the Jason X sleeping bag kill because it's just so hilarious. Like seeing him like slam one of them into the other one. Like even though it's not really technically a kill because it's just like an illusion.
Yeah, distraction.
Or a virtual reality simulation or whatever. But no, that was just funny. And my favorite is actually from the third movie where Jason like has a dude and he like just squeezes his head until his eyeball pops out.
Yeah.
In
Crushes the dude's head
3D,
with his bare
right?
hands. Here, I'll show you with this dog.
It looked really wild in 3D too, man.
Yeah.
Like that was a wild one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the eye popping out. Why only one eye pop out? Wouldn't both pop? Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, there's another good. There's some good ones too. Okay, in part 6, the one where he like, is it part 6? I think it's part 6. Maybe it's part 7, but it's one of them where he like crushes the guy's head on the tree with the belt.
Yeah,
He's like tightening the belt or whatever around the eye. Part 5. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
That's a
I like
great
Crispin Glover. I like when Crispin Glover dies. Where's the
there's
dog?
some great ones in the first one. Tom Savini came in and did part 4,
Yeah.
but he also did part 1. I love just the look of the girl with the axe in the forehead. It just looks great. I used to grow up. I would sneak peeks at like Fangoria on the magazine racks and like see those images and be like, I gotta see these movies. Like I don't know why it fascinated me seeing, but like that was it. Kevin Bacon with the arrow through the. It looks cheesy today, but back then that was like crazy, wild stuff.
Guy with the pitchfork through his back, and then
man.
with the iconic part 3 first kill with the mask on with the harpoon gun right
The
to the eye.
harpoon, man.
And it looks
first
good in
kill
3D
with the
too,
mask
man. It
on.
looks really cool in 3D.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I
really
bet,
does.
man.
All right, y'all.
The
We're
guns.
about to get into it. We're about to get into each of these 12 movies, and we're going to rank them. But we're going to take an intermission real quick. We'll be right back, everybody. Here, we're going to be talking about Friday the 13th, each movie in detail. Please join us. We'll be right back. I like it, John.
That's
All
it.
right. What's up, everybody? We're about to get started back up in here again. Ace says something. The weird ones in the remake with the bow and arrow. Okay. He's like Rambo Jason that. We're going to get to that. But I'll tell you this. That's another great kill I like. Because that dude's on the boat and that chick's like behind him, right?
Yeah,
And
with the
she's
arrow.
like, water skiing, and she like takes her top off, and then, it's Friday 13th, it's whatever. And then at one point he just goes, "Rah!" He like screams, "Yeah!" Like does one of those broy screams, and then just gets a bow and arrow right into the face. I love it. That's Rambo.
I like her kill. That was going to be my top 3, but I was
when she
they're
pulls,
better.
yeah.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah, that's a good one.
like right in her head and like pulls up and shows her tits. But
There's
then
some decent,
drops back
there's
down.
some decent kills in
It's
the
some good
remake.
kills, man. I like the remake.
All right,
We'll
we're
get
gonna
to
see
it.
how long John is committed to this bit, but I really do applaud
Hey,
him for this.
Continue. Listen, John, do your entire review like that, sir.
That's a very good mask, by the way, that
That's an
John has.
excellent
It's
mask.
incredibly authentic. The only thing he's missing, you don't have the axe mark on there, right?
Yeah, he doesn't have the X mark, and his background should be blacker.
What's crazy, is you're more richer,
Or
deeper.
Richard
Um,
black.
What's interesting is that in part 8, he gets his mask because this dude's on that boat, right, telling his girlfriend that story about Jason. He happens to have the
Yeah.
mask, and it happens to have the axe mark on it, even though it's whatever. It's probably a
Yeah,
store-bought
man.
thing, right? It has to be a store. All right, we're about to get into all these films, everybody. I hope you join in with us. So, first up, 1980, Friday the 13th, directed by Sean S. Cunningham. Written by Victor Miller. Starring, who cares, but Kevin Bacon was there. I really like this film. I think it's super, super strong. And it's really surprising and shocking sometimes because we've all grown up knowing who Jason Voorhees is. And the first time you watch Friday the 13th, you're not really necessarily always aware that he's not even in the film really until maybe the very end, right? But I like this film. I think it's got a great building of suspense and tension. I think it's got atmosphere. It makes going into the woods creepy. We got Gunnersville Lake near us. We go there. It's very Camp Crystal Lake. It's Camp Crystal Lakey. And I love it. I think the first one is really, really super solid. Hammer Time Holshi, what are your overall thoughts on Friday 13th Part 1?
I can't really talk in this mask.
Damn it! Now Jason talks. Really? Ah, shit! Oh, that's just the mask. Jeez, you scared me, man. Sorry.
He didn't commit to it for too long.
He shouldn't have.
I can't breathe. Okay.
I think it's pretty good though, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well done. Well done.
Okay. What now? What was the question?
What do you think overall about the first Friday the 13th film from 1980?
I think it's great. I mean, so you're right. I associate Friday the 13th with Jason. I think most people do. There's no Jason in the first one. But imagine you saw that film. This is pre-Jason. You went and saw this film and her being the killer. I think it's a great film, a good classic horror film. I think it's a classic film. I think it's done well. I think the concept of why she's killing, I think the thing at the end with the kid in the water, I love it. I think it's a good film on its own. But it's not Jason. I think we've gone to be, and that's why I think the remake was like, oh, well, they want Jason, so how do we do this? Well, we merge all three films into one film. But I think the first one's great. I mean, it's a cool concept, and it's got great music.
All right.
I like the first one. Plus, isn't that one with Kevin Bacon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything with Kevin Bacon's automatically a great film in my book.
Except for Hollow Man. What about you, Jelani? Speaking of Hollow Men, what do you think about the first film?
I like Hollow Man because Kim Dickinson in it. She's a Lehigh School graduate. It's Lehigh. Either
I
way.
like Halloween too.
I like the first Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, that's a clean ass movie. I honestly think that Jason Voorhees' mom should have been she should have been in this movie from the beginning. I
She
think
should have been a character, like a
should have
cook or
been a
something.
character. She should have been Annie's character that didn't die. Poor Annie. By the way, I feel so sorry for Annie because Annie I thought was going to be the final girl, when I first watched this movie like years ago, I thought Annie was gonna be the final girl, and because she was in the town first. She plays with the dog. She goes into town and asks where the Camp Crystal Lake is. And like the guy drives her and tells her the story of what's going on. I assume
creepy thing where he like grabs her ass and
final
he
girl.
her up into the
Right.
truck and that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's a creepy dude.
I know, man. I'm just saying it's nice
But-
touch, making it creepy.
But this movie is so grounded.
Yeah.
I wanted Miss Voorhees to be a part of the rest of it because she comes out of nowhere. You're
right. If they would have
kill-
built that up, it'd
been great. Her kill is the best kill in the movie when her head gets cut off by Alice. It is the best kill because of her face. She's just like, and like she's shocked. This is coming at her.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't want to die. She's got the best kill in the film. The Kevin Bacon kill is also notable because it's Kevin Bacon and he dies by arrow through the throat. Like she grabs his head and then puts the arrow through his throat. It is so clean. So I mean, there are a lot of great things about this film. We're not rating these films yet, right? Or are we ranking them?
Right now, we're just overall thoughts. Overall, you really like it.
Well, overall, I like this film. I like how Jason jumps out of the water. It's the best final act in all of these movies, to be honest.
They hold that moment for so long, and that music that's written, right? So we were talking about how Harry had written all this music as the killer, and in that scene, he needed something. So there's a diner scene in the film where he actually wrote a country song because they couldn't get a Dolly Parton song that he wanted to use because it was too expensive. So he wrote a country song for it, and he just played that on piano and slowed it up. And that was the scene.
That's
the
creepy.
boat. It's a great scene. So overall, you really like the first one.
I really like this film, and I rate these by three things, and I go by the way Ralph the Movie Maker goes that way because it makes sense. It starts out, and sorry kids, this is how it goes. It goes tits, kills, and entertainment value, and there are enough tits in it. There are enough kills in it. In fact, she does a great job with the kills, and I'm entertained from beginning to end. It's a little slow, it's a little clunky, but it's still entertaining because I liked everything at the beginning. I just wish Annie should have been the final girl.
Well, after that sophisticated and nuanced ranking system that Delaney has, Dylan, what do you think about the first film?
I love it, man. It's a classic. I grew up with it. And it's funny, I never even would realize so many times when I'd watch it, I'd be like, oh yeah, it isn't Jason. Like when I was younger, I always would almost forget because you just always put, Jason in that series and he's not in it till the end.
It's the screen question.
Yeah, man. It's a great movie though. I mean, it honestly is totally different than what this slasher series ended up being. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I still think that Mrs. Voorhees is just absolutely crazy. And honestly, I feel like it's the movie that even if you never got, people would have been like, well, what's this Mrs. Voorhees we're always hearing about? That would have always been told in the legend. So you're like, it's interesting though that this is how the series started without Jason, and then we didn't even really get hockey mask Jason until part 3.
Yeah, no kidding.
I love this movie, man. I love it. It's not. Are we doing a rating or just,
not yet?
I got
this movie came out May 9th, 1980, which means it came out 1 year and 1 day before the arrival of Rockin' Robbie Bills, and that's an exciting thing. It cost $5,500 to produce, and it made $59.8 million at the box office. Speaking of making a lot of money, Brooks is making the stacks on deck right now. Brooks, what do you think about the first film in the franchise?
Well, this was my favorite, and I remember it's the first one I ever saw. I remember seeing it when I was a teenager, and even by then, the character of Jason was synonymous with the franchise. And Scream hadn't come out yet. So I didn't know, that Jason wasn't in this movie. So it was kind of a cool twist at the end that, it was this crazy lady instead of Jason. And I think, like I said before, Betsy Palmer as Pamela Voorhees is scarier to me than any of the Jasons. Especially when she starts talking with the Jason.
Yeah.
Killer mommy. Killer, somebody get away. Look what you did to him.
Are you saying that because you're scared of ladies, Brooks?
Yeah, John.
Old women. She's like a lunch lady or something, you know?
She's
like
a
old
lunch lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, she seems so nice at first, you know, like she seems like this
She
nice
should've
helpful
been
person
this
that's gonna
whole
like
movie.
try and help her.
Yeah.
And all of a
Imagine if
sudden
she was just
like,
in.
turns.
Imagine if she was just in like 2 or 3 more scenes before that,
in
like
this movie.
introduced
Like,
as
they
like
set her up.
I don't know,
Yeah.
She'd have been awesome. She'd
You
been
know.
awesome.
sloppy Joe, a
She
sloppy
shows up out
Joe.
of nowhere.
All right,
She-
we're about to rate the films now. Out of 5 possible you digs, you out there in the chat, what do you give the original Friday the 13th? Let us know right now. Out of 5 possible you digs, Hammer Time Holshoe, what do you give Friday the 13th?
I give it 5. You know, it's a classic. It does introduce us to Jason, even though it's not the Jason we know. I think it's the cool twist of her being the killer. I think it's just a cool classic film, and it started the franchise, man. 5. I think it's done so well. Plus,
Absolutely.
it's got Kevin Bacon. I've always told you everything with Kevin Bacon is a 5 in my book.
Nice. Jelani, what do you give this out of 5 possible you digs?
I'll give it a 5 too. This 5, it deserves it. It does. It sets everything off. It sets Pamela Voorhees as the killer. It makes her a believable crazy person. Although I should take back some just because she isn't in the scenes more. She does need to work out that part. But man, like how Alice handles her, she basically and by the way, she kills a lot of people in this film, and she kills them all the way through. But then she gets to the last person and starts doing her exposition dump.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, if you don't go and kill her and just be over with this, it would have been over. And like, it is what it is. But it sets off this franchise.
So 5 you digs. 5. Perfect score so far. Dylan, what about you? Out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give Friday the 13th?
I give it a 2. No, I'm just kidding. I give it a 5, dog. I ain't
Ah.
Trying to steal my thing, dude.
How dare you go? How dare you go to?
It's a classic, man. And honestly, man, like Betsy Palmer is just phenomenal, man. She's so creepy, and it's so believable why she would flip her lid the way she does. And
Jason.
even a father, I'm sure they would lose their child, would flip their lid just as she did, you know, would want revenge, you know. And I absolutely love it, man. It's just a classic. I've literally been watching this since I was a little kid, because this one's probably my favorite. It's probably my favorite, and I know it's my mom's favorite by far. So either this or part 2.
Absolutely. Speaking of my mom's favorite, it was always Brooks. She always loved Brooks more as a surrogate
She
son than she did
did.
me.
Yeah.
Brooks, what do you give? What do you give Friday 13th out of 5 possible you digs?
Yeah, I give this one a 5 too. This movie is like, this is kind of like this and Halloween are what I think of when I think of like good slasher movies.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, it's good. It's got suspense. You know, it does lag a little bit, but you know that's kind of to be expected from a movie like this. You know, they have to slow things down so they can like get you with them, you know, scares. But yeah, like it's a great movie, classic.
All right. Well, I hate to break the trend, Joel. I give it a 4.5.
I knew you would, man. I knew you would.
Nah, we knew.
I give it a 4.5. I really,
We-
really like this film. I think it's 4.5, by the way, is a really good score. I like this film. I think it's great. It's got a lot of ambience and nuance and atmosphere to it at times. But ultimately, you know, and I think this is something that happens in the franchise. There's not really too many compelling characters to really get into.
It
Right?
needs a Loomis, man. It needs a Loomis.
But
It needs someone that starts this off.
this is still a great film. It
Great
uses-
Duke, man.
It's got great music. It's got great music. It's got all that stuff. I go 4.5. Let's look at the chat. And it looks like everybody agrees with y'all. Stefan says 5 you digs. Sam Fett with 5 you digs. Stefan says classic and 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Fable says 5 you digs. Classic Bessie Palmer. Enough said. So
Yeah.
5s straight across the
job.
board from the
Good
chat.
job, Fable.
So
Good job.
I'm the
Fable.
only dissenting opinion there.
Yeah,
It's
so
all
we'll
good,
just give it
man.
a
It's
overall
still a
5.
good movie.
It's still 4.5 is a great one. All right.
It's solid.
The very next year, May 1st, 1981, Friday the 13th Part 2. It cost $1.25 million to make. It made $21.7 million, so not quite the success.
No monies.
But it's the one that actually had Jason, though we call him Potato Sack Head Jason.
Yeah.
I actually like this film. I like this film a lot. I think this is where they build so well from the first film into this one, and they move it forward. I love that this is a franchise. Freddy is Freddy from the first movie. Michael is the Michael Myers from the first movie. Jason, it takes time to build this mythology, and that's one of my favorite things about the Friday the 13th thing is that they actually take time at times to build things up, even though they don't really get too into it. I really like part 2. I think it's got great characters, better characters, more rounded characters than in the first one. I like Jenny better than Alice as a final girl in this one. I like the idea that they're back at the camp. That's always something that I love. That's why I love these first 2 films so much. This is one of my favorites of the franchise is part 2. I think it's amazing. Overall, what do you think about it? Hammer time.
I really like the second one. I think it's a good follow-up. You're right. We get a lot more. We get Jason. We get Jason. You think that person gets away in part 1 and it doesn't end that way. So it's definitely a good follow-up. And I was always disappointed rewatching it initially as a kid because I'm like, oh man, where's the damn hockey mask? I hate that damn. But he is kind of
Potato sack.
He is kind of disfigured, so I understand why he wears the sack. But I think it's a good follow-up. I think it's got a good cast. I think it's got a good ending. I enjoy the film. I think it's it's a really good sequel, and it really builds on the first one. You're right. It adds to it, and then it gives us this new character to replace Betsy, and I like the whole concept of it.
Yeah, and even though it does kind of redo the first film, like a lot of these ones do, if you really think about it, Halloween 2 kind of redoes some of the stuff, I should say, some of the stuff in the first film. This is what they do, right? But adding to that mythology is something really compelling about this series. Jelani, speaking of compelling building in the series of the character, what do you think about the second one overall?
This is honestly the second movie I've ever watched from this. So I watched Jason Takes Manhattan, then I went back to 2.
I thought you meant the second film you ever watched in your life, like you were a little
Like,
kid
in my life. I was like, no. As far as Friday the 13th, this one is the second one I ever saw, and I was like, at first I was disappointed, and then I saw it again when I worked at Hollywood Video, and I decided to watch all of them, like I read like a good bit of them. And I was like, I'll just watch these again. And I watched this for the second time in VHS. And I was like, wow. Like, the best scene in the movie, of course, is when he's jumping out and his mask is, his sack's off. And he's like, look, his eyes, his face, all of it is scary as shit. And I'm like, yes. Like, I love the kills in this movie as well. Like the wheelchair kill, of course. We always talk about that kill. Because it's clean, like it should be. I should remove the sleeping bag kill and put the wheelchair kill as the kill in this.
That's
movie.
a good one, man. It's a good
kill, man. Because he's
almost think that he's going to be maybe the good guy because you're like, oh, surely he's not going to kill this guy in the wheelchair that seems like a nice guy.
No. Jason kills everybody he's in contact with until he's in Manhattan.
I also like the idea that some of these kids actually survive because they go out to the town to drink and have fun. And they actually
survive.
It's nice.
On top of that,
he's got a territory that he's protecting, kind of.
Yeah. Jason only kills in Crystal Lake and their counselors that are there.
It's not true.
I'm saying
to Manhattan.
No.
And in outer space.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is at the beginning how it's set up.
Yeah.
And I love how Jason gets his ass kicked. He gets his ass kicked in this one. Like
he
a
really
lot.
does. He
gets
kicked in the balls.
And And like I said, tits, kills, and entertainment value. So the girl that has the guy that's creepy, and he throws like the pebbles at her butt, and she's like, "Oh my god!"
Oh yeah,
that's great. I like her. I like how the ending is kind of stupid though, because she's like, "Where's Paul? Where's Paul?" And you don't know what happens to Paul. the counselor, the counselor guru guy. You don't know what happens to him. So there are things in that movie which are great, and I love the wheelchair kill. So it's a great film to me. I like it.
Overall, you like it.
I like it.
Hell yeah. What about you, Dylan?
I love it, man. This is probably one of my favorites, or at least one of my favorites growing up. I know for a fact this was. I watched this one the most. It's me and my mom's actual favorite one, like Jason. I don't know. That's probably why I watched it so much growing up. It's because it was one that it was like cool to watch with her. Because I don't know, there wasn't really too much. Like the ones with nudity is where she would always kind of stray from me watching as because I was watching them young as hell. You know, like
You like it, but nudity.
yeah. So she tried to get that. So I had to record a lot of them from TV. You know, like the VHS recording. But the second one, man, has some great stuff. I mean, it's I love like all the kind of like farmer tools used to kill everybody. You know, what's the one? It's like the
pitchfork.
The pitchfork. Yep. Thank you, man. But I thought a pitchfork has like just 2. That one's got 4.
It's 4.
It's all.
The pitchforks are 4.
It can be whatever.
Like
Aquaman's got a trident with like fucking 7. You know, who cares?
Trident.
Yeah, man. Part 2 is iconic. It's the start of Jason, man, and I love it. It has some goofy moments, but like Delaney said, him coming through the window at the end, it's just creepy as hell, man. And the makeup was really well done. And
the skullet. And the skullet.
Yeah, and
he's got a good skullet.
And the dog at the end was just iconic. I can't remember his name.
I forgot the dog.
Oh,
yeah,
bro.
The dog lives.
Oh, it's like, oh my god. There's no way that dog was alive, man.
That dog was dead. I was like, I thought the dog was dead.
All right, Brooks, what do you think about the movie overall? Part 2.
It's all right. Like, I don't really have much of an attachment to this movie. Like, it does have some good stuff in it, and it does feel like a natural progression from the first movie, but it doesn't stick out a lot in my mind to me,
Where's Paul, man? Where's Paul? That's all I want to know. What happened to Paul? That's it.
He's probably lost on the map in the NES game.
When we were talking about music,
I'm going this way. Then why is it going? The map saying I'm going this way.
When we were talking about music, we should have mentioned NES. Like the NES game has great music. So overall, you think it's okay, Brooks?
Yeah.
Okay. Hammer Time Holshoe. Before we get to you, I want to ask the chat. Out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give Friday the 13th Part 2? Now, Hammer Time Holshoe, I'm going to ask you.
Ask me. Oh, that was the question.
Out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give Friday the 13th Part 2?
Man, it's a good follow-up. I don't like it as much as the original. It's not my favorite of the franchise. I'm gonna give it a 4. But I think it's a good follow-up. And again, it gives us the Jason that we know, sans the mask. But I think it's, you know what? I take that back. 4.5. 4.5.
Okay. You convince yourself otherwise. Solid, but you like the first one better.
Because it's a good follow-up. I think the first one's better, but this gives us Jason. You know what I'm saying? 4.5.
Absolutely. 4.5. That's good. Good one. 4.5. Jelani, briefly, what do you give us out of 5 possible you digs for Friday the 13th Part 2?
Yep, I'll give it a 4.5. I'm with John. It has its moments. It's good. It's really good. I like the jumping out scene. I like the final girl in this movie. I like that people survive. I like a lot of things about this film. And it
has some great kills.
Jason gets his ass kicked. This is the best. Like, he shouldn't be getting his ass kicked as much as he is.
He can't see out of that sack, bro.
He can't see out of the sack.
That's why when he sees the hockey mask in Part 3, he's like, oh.
He's just like,
more visibility.
He's alive. He's still alive. It's still him, like, as a crazy, like, backwoods retard kid, poor kid. And he just lives his life like killing, and that's all he wants to do. So, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Dog, you listen. If you're good at something, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And I think
Flaunt
he's
it.
doing a good job
Flaunt
with
it, man. Flaunt it.
And he's
you
still
said
alive. Live while you
flaunt it.
live. 4.5.
4.5. 4.5. All right. What about you, Dylan?
Man, I give this one a 6 if I could, dog, for real. Like, it's definitely 5 all day. It's to me, this one has the more rewatchability than part 1, honestly.
I agree.
Like this one, like if it's on TV, I can't pass it up. I just throw it on. No matter where it's at, I'm gonna watch it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is definitely where, we start finally getting into, all the Jason stuff, and I love it, man. I do get, when I watch it, sometimes I think, he's getting taught, him and, Paul wrestling around a little bit, but the cast in this is great. I actually really, enjoy, all the cast or all the campers, or what are they called again?
They're
Counselors.
counselors and trainers.
The counselors, yeah.
The Goofy Kid lives.
Yeah.
And this is the only one where the Goofy Kid lives. So I appreciate that for some reason.
Yeah, I think it's really well done, though, man. And I have a hell of a lot of fun with it. It's got some awesome kills. I mean, it's got one of my favorites in all the series. I mean, the wheelchair kill is just it's crazy.
So brutal.
Down the stairs. It's like
I don't know how they even did that one, honestly, man. It's crazy. But yeah, man, I love this one.
Nice. What about you, Brooks? What do you give it?
I give this one a 3.5.
Damn.
he brutal.
It's not one of my favorites. I mean, like I do respect that, it's the first Jason movie and all, but it just didn't grab me,
Okay. Fair enough. I'm going to give it a 4.5 because I do think it's better than the first one, but not by enough to give it it's not a 5, you digs, for me. But it's one of my favorites of the entire franchise. It really is. It's top 3 for me for sure. I love this film. I think it's great. I give it a strong 4.5, a stronger 4.5 than I gave the first one, but still a 4.5. I think it's great. It's got one of my favorite final girls. It's got some nice kills. It's got a nice sense. I think it's got a nice pace to it, even though it does start with a flashback. And honestly, if you're just a Jason hound, you could start the entire rewatch with this film, because it recaps everything in the first 7 minutes, like a mummy movie. You know what I'm saying? So those are some high scores, except for Brooks. Brooks didn't really seem to like this one. Let's take a look at Stefan. Stefan says, for you digs, also wants to remind us that the crazy town hobo from the first one dies being a peeping Tom. That's right. You're doomed.
Ralph.
You're doomed. Sam Fett really likes these films, it seems, at least the early ones. 5 you digs from him. I give it There Is No Spoon. Well played, Billy. Well played. Fable says 4.5 you dig. Solid sequel. Wheelchair kill was awesome. Yo, the ending. Absolutely. Girl gets pulled through the window, wakes up in the hospital. I do hate how they always try to undo their endings at the end of these films. You know what I'm saying? But regardless, let's get to part 3. Part 3. Guess what? It came out the very next year, but in August 13th. Guess what? It came out on a Friday the 13th. That's right. First one to do so. In 1982, it cost $2.2 million to make it. Made $36.7 million. So it was more profitable than the second one, probably because of the 3D gimmick. Now, all of these horror films in the 80s were doing part 3s, and they were all 3D.
Yeah.
Jaws 3D, Amityville 3D, Jason 3D. It looks great in 3D. I love it. If you don't watch it in 3D, it can be a little bit obnoxious because it plays to the 3D a lot. I like this film a lot. It's the first one where we get Jason in the hockey mask. Shelly, is it Shelly? Shelly's like,
Shelly.
I hate that character.
Shelly.
But I look at him and I just be like, I want to see this remade
Shelly.
with Seth Rogen. I love this film. I think it's one of the strongest in the franchise. I love the Jason. We already talked about that. Richard Brooker. I think it's got a great dreamlike quality towards the ending. I love that the mom comes out as a zombie at the end of the pond. I like the reflection back to the first one. I really like this film. On the rewatch, I watched it twice during this year's Horror Fest, and I even like it when it's in 2D. I really honestly do. I think it's a solid film, and I like it. Overall, what do you think, Holshu?
rewatching it in 3D helped a lot because my only real complaints with the film were the generic pointing and stabbing at the screen thing all the time. There's a lot of that, and in 3D it makes a big difference. So and I think I hold a special place in my heart for it because he gets his hockey mask. You know, it was an iconic hockey mask. So that's why I like it. There's some great kills, and that it is terrifying when she thinks she gets away, even though it's a dream sequence, and she's on the boat, and he's like pressing against the glass, looking at her, and you can see his bloody, cut in his head where she hit him with the axe, and the whole thing with the mom at the end, because it really does look like a decayed Pamela Voorhees. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she got the worms coming out of her.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Her head somehow reattached, but whatever.
Hey, and some of the kills are great. Again, they work better in 3D. So had they not have done the 3D gimmick and that had been dropped, I think it would have been a better film. But in 3D, it's actually pretty cool. Some of it works really well. So I surprisingly liked the film a lot more than I thought I would now that I rewatched it in 3D. You know what I'm saying? It works. Absolutely. And I think it's a worthy sequel.
And this one and the previous one were done by Steve Miner, by the way, who went on to do one of my favorite Halloween films, H2O. So Steve Miner really did a great job, I think, with both part 2 and part 3. What do you think overall about part 3, Jelani?
Well, it would have been nice if I seen it in 3D, but
that was a once in a lifetime show. We'll never show it again.
Yeah, apparently. But overall, this film, I like it. I do hate Shelley. Shelley kind of ruins it for me because he has a side quest that I really hate.
He was so annoying.
I hate Shelley with like all my body. Like, I can't get a girl because I look like this. And I can't stand him. It's something about him. And I'm like, when he dies, I'm like, oh, they should have done a lot more to kill him. But he's the one that gives Jason the hockey mask. So you got to give him credit. Got to give him credit for that part. I like all the characters in this movie because they're all goofy and stupid. I hate he kills a pregnant girl in this movie. That kind of makes me sad. I don't know why. It just does. The 3D effect is cheesy for the parts that you see because you're like, oh, I'm just sticking my head in front of the camera.
There's a yo-yo at your face.
There's a yo-yo, or
there's also this is the start. This is the start of a precedent in Jason films, and that's people taking a shit. Like there's like heavy usage of people taking shits in these films.
So I mean, it's got its moments. It's okay in its parts, and I like it. I like this movie because this is the third or fourth movie I watched in this line. But like Shelley just keeps getting in my way.
I got you.
Shelley ruins a lot of shit in this movie. He reminds me of the kid that dies in New Beginning. So here we go.
I really like the feel of these first 3 films. These first 3 films, out of all of them, to me, feel a little bit more connected to that
story.
80s, late 70s slasher craze, and they feel more raw and guttural, and that's why I like these 3 in particular. Dylan, what do you think overall about part 3?
I enjoy it a lot, honestly. It's a different Jason than we get in any of the other ones. I really enjoy seeing Jason kind of like stalk them, and you kind of see his point of view just while he's kind of creeping in the background, and a lot of time he's even creeping during the day, which is almost it almost seems like Steve Miner, if he didn't have to worry about the 3D, that it would have been him trying to do Jason as like the 78 Halloween, because that's how almost they're playing Jason. I feel like at times where you see him like how Michael was stalking Laurie and them, almost like that's what they're trying to do with Jason. Or I don't know, but some of the 3D stuff does get in the way. I don't think Shelley's that bad as Jelani makes them seem, but yeah, I mean, and plus, man, he's a monster nerd, bro. He's running around,
I think the problem that we have with Shelley is that he doesn't learn. Like he keeps doing dumbass shit. Like
and he's trying to get a girl, and he's got the girl. He's got her, and then he's still like, "Oh, Shelley, I fucking suck."
I think they started like basically telling people that like there needed to be some kind of jump scare or something every like few minutes, right? And so to have Shelley kind of adds on to that. So overall, you think it's a solid film, Dylan?
I do think it's a solid film, no doubt. I think it would be even better without the 3D, but I grew up watching the 3D, and now, see, I can watch it in the old 3D way, with like the red and blue glasses, but it kind of messes with my eyes, so I end up just watching it regular, which I love the score in it. The score is one of the best, but
It's great with the disco song at the intro too. I can watch it in the red and blue 3D because I'm one of those few people that doesn't bother. Like I actually like red and blue 3D. I don't mind it, but seeing it in the more real 3D, it's way more effective. So I would highly encourage.
Is it?
I'm hoping one day I can. That's
another person here that did get to see it in 3D was Brooks. Brooks, what do you think about the film overall?
I like this one. It's a lot of fun, and it does introduce the iconic Jason as we know him today. With the hockey mask, and as much shit as people give the character of Shelley, like at least you remember him. He stands out.
I fucking hate Shelley. Fuck
for the wrong reason.
And I don't think
maybe like the only other character.
But I think that's kind of the point of him is that he wants attention. He wants people to notice him. That's his whole thing. That's why he does all these stupid pranks and why he's so obsessed with getting all these scares. He just wants people to notice him. And I think that's something. I think he's meant to be more relatable.
He's not,
but they kind of take it too far with him, and
then he's like,
he's a little irritating.
I like this girl, and then like he goes on a side quest with her, and then like she rejects him, kind of.
Brooks.
He's like, bitch. I'm like, I hate Shelley. I hate you.
Brooks. Doesn't that guy remind you of Jelani?
Jelani, he's such a Shelley.
Brooks had a really good point that we remember this character, and that's actually kind of rare for the most part of these films.
We do,
and I think it's all kind of there. But I do like this film, Hammer Time, and you out there in the chat, out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give Friday the 13th Part 3? Hammer Time.
I give it a. Man, it's hard. Can I give it 2 scores depending if it's a 2D or 3D? Because I feel like the 3D is pretty good, and I up my score a little bit, but I'll give it a 4.0. I don't think it was as good as the previous 2 films. But I give it a 4.0 because I give it higher in 3D, but I'm gonna realize that most people aren't gonna have the chance to see it in 3D, and so that's kind of an unfair.
I got you.
Thing. And that was too much of a crutch. You're right for the Part 3s. Jason 3D, everything's in 3D. Nah, I give it a 4.0.
4.0 from Hammer Time. What about you, Jelani?
I don't know. I didn't see it in 3D, so yeah. Whatever. I'm just kidding.
Hey, he's not salty about that at all.
Station. I will say I'll give this one a 4. It has its moments. It's scary in parts. Now, like I said, it doesn't have the tits, but it did kill a pregnant lady, and I'm sad about that. I'm very sad about that part. I don't know why, because Jason is a beast. Jason kills everyone that gets in front of him, and I appreciate that. He can't be reasoned with. He can't be told what to do. He's gonna kill, and he's still alive in this one. So you're just like, oh, he's alive. So his life's goal is basically to kill everyone he sees in front of him at Camp Crystal Lake. So I get it. So 4.5.
All right.
Oh, 4.
You said 4, yeah. What about you, Dylan?
I'd give it a 4. Some of the 3D stuff, just obviously doesn't age that well over the years, but it's still a great film, It had some of my least favorite, counselor characters, I guess. At least compared to Part 2. I like just Part 2's characters so much better.
Yeah, well, they're not
Part 3 is still
they're just renting like a cabin or something, right? They're just kids renting a cabin trying to hook up, get
their lives, man.
Yeah. We don't go back to the camp counselor thing till Part 6, actually, do we?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's a lot.
Part 5, they go in that area that they're not supposed to go or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I actually
I still,
in part 2. It's not even Camp Crystal Lake. It's a different camp. It's not Camp Blood.
Yeah.
It's a different camp. So the first one's the only one that takes place at Camp Blood until part 6, right? Because the second one's at the other camp. The third one, they rent a cabin. The fourth one, they rent a cabin next to the house of Tommy Jarvis. The fifth one, Tommy's at the rehabilitation camp. And then the sixth one's back at Camp Crystal Lake proper, right? All right. Well, Brooks is gone for right now, so I'll go ahead and throw my
there he is.
out there. Oh, there he is. Brooks.
Hi, Brooks.
5 possible you digs. What do you give Friday 13th Part 3?
I give this one a 4. This one's a lot of fun. Like even if you don't watch it in 3D, it's a pretty enjoyable movie. I like it.
It's
it
all
pretty
right in
good.
2D. It's all right in 2D.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got to see it 3D.
Me too.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to go with a 4.5 because I really think it's strong. It's one of my favorites of the franchise. I love the Jason. I love the I think it's got a very strong third act. I love that dreamlike sequence at the end. I give it a 4.5. So high scores still from all of us here at PCP. And let's take a look at the chat. Stefan says 4 you digs. Sam Fett says 5 you digs. First one I saw in the theater. 14 years old. Hooked me for life. Jason is king. Stefan says 3.5 because of Shelley.
Damn
Real
it.
Rude 6 says 4.1. Mikey says, I give it a 3. A 3D. Ha ha.
I get it.
Abel says, my first Friday was 3. It will hold a place in my heart. The crotch chop shocked me as a kid.
Yeah.
Why is that dude like his whole bit is to like walk on his hands after sex? Like it's
He's so stupid.
on second thought, don't give me that beer.
Yeah.
What's that's a weird bit to have. That's a weird stretch. Speaking of weird stretches, let's talk about part 4 of the final chapter. It was a very weird stretch to call this the final chapter because
yeah, it was not the final chapter.
It was not
I
the
mean,
final chapter. But
there are two
was
films
me.
in this entire franchise that have final in the title, and none of them were. I am not the biggest fan of this one. I know a lot of people are. A lot of people, this is their favorite. I think it's okay. I really hate every single one of these characters. There's not a single character here. Not even Crispin Glover's stupid ass dance can save me. I really don't like any of these characters. Tommy is, I guess, interesting. His sister's the dumbest piece of shit out there. I like Tom Savini coming back to do the effects. I think it's got some great effects, especially when Jason dies at the end when he slides on the knife. But I think this movie's okay. But on the rewatch, I didn't hate it as much as I usually did. I actually did enjoy pieces of it, but I don't connect with any of the characters. And I think it's kind of redundant and just okay. What about you, Hammer Time Holshoe?
is this one with Crispin Glover?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I can remember which. For some reason, I forgot which one he was
They
in.
merged together. Man. But
I enjoy it. I mean, introduces Tommy. There's no way he made those fucking masks. By the way, there's no way.
He did. I believe he did.
Anyway,
I trust him.
there's some rewatching it. There's some like weird psychology between Tommy and Jason. You know what I'm saying? There's something going on between the two of them that I expected them to build on in 5, but they really didn't, other than his like PTSD. Anyway, there's some good kills. I like this version of Jason. It feels like a good follow-up to 3. I mean, maybe I just like it because it introduces Tommy. And plus, that Tommy that we get is Corey Feldman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no kidding.
So he's spoiler alerts, he's Donnie, the Ninja Turtle.
He is Donnie.
This is a lot of people's favorite, though, so, it's a lot of people really like this one. What about you, Jelani? What do you think?
I like this film. I like Corey Feldman in it. I like his sister because she's dumb as shit. I like Crispin Glover's kill. It is by where's the damn cork straw? And then he just gets stabbed in his hand. I love it. I love how complete this film feels because it's still a continuation of a live fucking Jason.
Yeah.
And the fact that a kid kills him. And Fable mentioned before how I was like, oh, he likes kids. In film, like I like Corey Feldman. I like Corey Feldman in this film. I like his reactions to things that happen. And I mentioned it before how I like how he sees like boobs for the first time. He doesn't understand them, but he's still excited. He's like, whoa! It's so cool. And like I said, tits are great in this film, kills are great in this film, and it's entertaining.
Tommy's reacting the way that we felt when we watched these films as kids. What about you, Dylan? What do you think about part 4?
I like it. I don't think it's like the best. I know I kind of feel in some ways how you do, Robbie, but I still do love this movie. I love Corey Feldman in it. I do think Crispin Glover and his like best buddy, you know, the dead fuck shit. Like I think they have good chemistry together. The guy looking for his sister is iconic just for his death. I think Tom Savini coming back is awesome. The makeup effects are awesome. I do agree that like the characters I mentioned are good, but I do think that like the other kids renting the cabins, like you really don't care at all about any of those besides the two, like Crispin Glover, who's iconic, and then his buddy. I just, you have nothing, you know, for any of those other characters. And I always hear people say this is their favorite one. I mean, I guess I can see it because some people, you know, I feel like the people who say that this is their favorite one, they don't like anything after part 4. You know what I mean? Like they're just 1 through 4, and you know, I like them all, so maybe I just don't fall in that range. But I still do enjoy it, but not as much as I think some other people do. I think a lot of people enjoy this a lot more. Say it's the best slasher of all time. I don't think that, to be honest.
What about you, Brooks? What do you think?
That's all right. I think this is the one where they kind of like settle into what a Friday the 13th movie is. So like, it's this very, you know, kind of meh to me. Like, I mean, it's not bad. It's still entertaining, but it just doesn't stand out really a whole lot to me.
Respectable. I understand that. So, chat out there, what do you give Final Chapter out of 5 possible you digs? What do you rate it? What about you, Hammer Time?
Originally, I want to say it was a 5. Originally, I'm like, this is one of the best. But after rewatching them all, it's not a perfect film. It's a good follow-up. I think I gave it too much credit because it has Corey Feldman in it. So I think after watching it, I'm going to give it a 4.5. I don't think it's the best of the franchise, but I think it's a good to start that relationship between Tommy and Jason. I like how Jason's represented in the film. I think it has some great kills. And come on, it's got, you know, it's got McFly in it. How can you like?
Yeah, it's got George McFly. I can't believe like John gave us this whole spiel. Like, you know, it does have some flaws after you watch it. 4.5. That's a great score. What about you, Jelani? What do you give it?
I'm gonna give it a 4. I like Crispin Glover in it. The way he dances pretty much saves this film for me because, like, I hate all these people. They have their moments, but like, other than Tommy and his sister, I like his sister. I don't know, she's dumb. She's real dumb, but like, I like her for some reason. It's just worth it. So I give it a 4. It's 4 decent.
Mm-hmm. Pretty decent. What about you, Dylan?
I'd give part 4 a 4 as well. It's not my favorite, but if I'm watching them, I'm never gonna pass it up, and it's just iconic. To get Tom Savini back, you know, to kill Jason, but you know, like you said, man, two titles that say the last one or the final Friday, and it wasn't. So, I mean, it's just a lot more from here, and I think that to me, I have a lot more fun with some of these upcoming ones than I do with this one. I honestly think this is the weakest of the first 4. Honestly, I just love Corey Feldman probably saves it, but I don't know.
But you still gave it a 4, so that's pretty strong. Still.
It's
Speaking of, I can't enumerate how many times we've heard of the final Brooks. Brooks, what do you think about Final Chapter? What do you rate it?
I give it a 3. Like, it's
damn.
It's all right. All right. That's all I can really say about it. It's all right. Like, it feels like the least amount of effort was put into it so far out of all the Friday the 13th.
Okay. I liked it more this rewatch than I typically do. So I give it an extra half a you dig for that. So I'm going 3.5. I'm going to give it a 3.5 you digs. Still decent scores for me and Brooks, but still very good scores from Holshoe, Chab, and Jelani. Let's take a look at the chat. Sam Fett says, to no one's surprise, 5 you digs. I think Sam loves these films. And Stefan says 4.5 you digs. All right, going on to New Beginning. Controversial opinion at times, but I really like Part 5. I like New Beginning. I think it's a really solid film with some great kills, with some interesting characters, but you still don't quite get into anybody. Maybe Tommy a little bit. They don't even focus enough on Tommy. And alas, you dig for our final chapter from... Well, what Stefan says, 5, it was 5. He goes 5, you digs. 4 you digs from Fable was my favorite as a kid because of Corey. All right. I like New Beginning. I like the new setting. A lot of people hate the fake out that it's not actually Jason. I don't mind that. I think it's got some great kills. I think it's got some great music. I think it's got some great scenes in it. And I actually really like New Beginning. I think it's a very entertaining film, very fun. And I love that moment where that dude finally builds up the courage to ask that woman to make love to him, and
he laughs at him.
Laughs at him, and then he gets killed by Jason. What a terrible fucking night! What about you, Hammer Time? What do you think overall about New Beginning?
I like the film. It's got some great kills, so I enjoy the film. I think that I wish they would have built up a little bit. We would have had more information about the actual killer. You know, I think that was the biggest slap in the face. Is the twist ending was there was a guy that you barely even saw in the film, so that it wasn't like the twist wasn't the shocking part. The twist was who the fuck is this? So that's an issue with the film. It really is that's just bad writing, but it still was a decent film. The kills are great, and I still watched it a bunch as a kid, and it was a big deal when you first see him, when you see he's got that mask, whatever, and it's like it's not Jason. And then again, you got the real Jason at the very beginning. With the flashback or the dream sequence or whatever with Tommy, the real Tommy. And I looked that guy up, and it was just some stunt guy that played Jason in that opening sequence.
I think it was like Morga or something.
Yeah, and it was filmed at...
Morga, who played Leatherface and Michael Myers.
In Corey Feldman's backyard, I guess. I guess he was busy or something, so they filmed it back there.
Goonies, yes, they filmed it in his backyard. I remember hearing that, yeah.
So I thought that was interesting, but overall, I think it's an okay film. Again, it's not Jason, but it's also not like they deviated like Halloween 3 where it was about something other story altogether. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's okay. It's okay. Obviously, there were some people that were pissed, hence the sequel, Jason Lives. They brought back the real Jason. You know what I'm saying? There was obviously people who aren't happy with that. Well, did you give us the box office numbers for that one?
No, I did not.
I'm curious how well it did.
All right, so it cost $2.2 million to make. It released March 22nd, 1985. Sadly, not a Friday the 13th. And it made $22 million.
Still made money.
So it made money. You know, I think they intended, like, the slasher craze was ending. The slasher craze was ending in the mid-'80s, and I think that's why they did the final chapter. I think they fully intended to end it there. But it made money. You know what I'm saying? So, and New Beginning, I guess, $2.2 million to make. They didn't invest too much into it, actually. Jelani, overall, what do you think about New Beginning?
It's not Jason. So, it has its moments. But he kills more people than he killed in all the other films preceding it. He was like 20 kills.
There's a lot of kills, and there's some good kills too.
It's really good kills. Like he kills like ooh baby. He kills the grandfather, which I'm like, damn it, he killed the grandfather? That's sad. Like and Joey's kill is okay. Like the ambulance driver like goes up, he gets mad because his son gets killed by this guy that they have in custody. He kills everyone except the guy that killed his son. So I'm like, it is what it is. But Debbie Sue Voorhees is a sad kill. She's a sad kill because first of all her name's Voorhees, and she goes into my tits meter. It's tits kills. I'm sorry, tits kills and entertainment value. I'm entertained by the film. There were a lot of good kills in this. Joey being my favorite, and her tits were amazing. So
All right,
horrible. So
Dylan, what do you think about the film?
You'll get over it.
A little bit less of that, please, Jelani.
You'll get over it.
Dylan, what do you think about part 5?
I love it, man. It's one of my all-time favorites out the series, no doubt. It's badass, man, and the people that hate it, man, they just make me love it even more. Because I have no problem with the Roy, man. Like I said, man, it's just turn it off. Just turn it off once he flies off the barn. It's a phenomenal movie, man, and so many great kills. And it's directed by a guy who was doing like soft porn before this, man. So it was like, man.
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I love the characters in it. I mean, you get the chocolate bar eating guy in this, man. Like, it's Joey. You get the ooh baby guy in this one, man. You get
ooh baby.
Ooh baby. What's his little brother's name too? Nah, I can't think of him.
Trouble or little something. I'm like, I forgot his name too.
I think it's like I wanted to say it was Ronnie or something, but it's not.
It's probably Ronnie.
It might be Ronnie.
It might be Ronnie.
It is Reggie.
Reggie. I knew it was Reggie. Yeah, Reggie the Reckless.
Yeah, he's reckless. Reckless.
I love this movie, man. I love it. I don't care that it's Roy. I love it, man. It's brutal, and it has some of the best kills in the entire series. I mean, and the most kills in any Friday movie, I'd say. But yeah, man, I love this one.
What about you, Brooks?
I don't feel I'm gonna be saying this a lot, but it's all right. Like it does have a lot of like good kills and stuff, but the reasoning, there's really no reasoning behind the kills considering the reveal at the end. Like, so this guy's son dies, so he just goes around and just kills all these random people, like this hitchhiker lady, and this dude out in the van with this girl in the middle of the woods. Like, I mean, the only way I could justify is like he's trying to like build up the idea that it's Jason, maybe, but still, I mean,
kill the guy that
go on a revenge spree. Like,
I think he's trying to blame it on Tommy.
Yeah, I think he'd like blame the people that were there. You know, like maybe he'd blame like the people that were in this little community because they stood by and watched.
I just think he's trying to set it up to blame Tommy.
Yeah,
like Tommy's the new Jason or something. But you think it's just okay. So it seems like you really like the first one, and then you think the other ones are okay. All right.
Like the movies kind of settle into like kind of a typical formula.
Formula. You out there in the chat, what do you give New Beginning Part 5? Hammer Time, what do you give it out of 5 possible you digs?
Oh, I'd probably give it I give it 3.5. It's just because it's even I can forgive it not being Jason. That the biggest issue is who the hell was that guy? If they would have built up his backstory a little more, or we would, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, I don't know. That's my biggest issue. But it does have a lot of cool kills. It does have Tommy, even though it's not that Tommy. It does have that cool dream sequence. I mean, it's not a bad film by any means.
What about you, Jelani?
Joey gives it a 3.5. I hate Joey worse than I hate Shelley. Like, although his kill was satisfying, I was like, yeah, Joey. So I mean, it's got its moments, but it's not as good as the previous ones, the previous films. So yeah, 3.5.
What about you, Dylan?
I'd give it a 5. It's phenomenal.
Damn.
It's rewatchable, and it's so much fun to watch.
All right.
Damn. Bold and daring, and I love that, Dylan. What about you, bro?
I'd give it a 3.5. It's pretty average, but it does have some really cool kills. And like, despite the the kind of weird logic to the motivation of the character, I don't think that's really that important in the grand aspect of the Friday the 13th.
It's not Jason,
series.
man. It's not Jason.
You don't really watch Friday the 13th movies for their super intense storytelling, I guess.
No,
You're right.
I wanted to see a bunch of
But
young
it's
kids.
fun. It's fun, and
Get
that's what
got.
counts, I think.
Yeah.
Why is
Friday
it
the
so
13th.
fun to watch young
They are
kids
fun.
get got? I guess that's what Cabin in the Woods was about. Speaking of Horror Fest, right? I'm gonna say 4.5. I really like this film. I have a lot of fun with it. I stick up with it. It's got one of my favorite kills, Juana Man in the outhouse. Ooh, baby, baby, baby. Like, what is that about? I don't know. It's ridiculous, but
I
have
like
so
to
much
sing
fun
while
watching
you shit.
Now, here's something too. I noticed that during Horror Fest, I am incredibly lenient on these films, like how Brooks typically is with new films, and me and Jelani and others are way harsher on new films. I'm very lenient sometimes on horror films, but I'm going to go 4.5. It's got rewatchability, like Dylan said, and I think it's absolutely slam bang fantastic. So out there in the chat, Stefan said 5. You digs.
Wow.
Sam
Y'all
Fett
in
says
the
5. You
five.
digs. Awesome kills with the pruning shears through the girl's eyes. You feel that
Yeah.
snap.
Yeah.
Tyler
Yeah.
says 10 on
Debbie,
5.
Debbie C. Voorhees, man. Debbie C. Voorhees.
Tyler
Yeah.
says 10 on 5. And Fable says 4.5. You dig. Solid. Some
Wow.
love out there for New
Sure,
Beginning,
so.
and I like it.
All right.
I can't
All right.
believe I forgot.
Before we get
Not
into
Jason,
a break,
though.
we're going to talk about part
Yeah,
6.
better,
Jason
okay.
Lives. I love Jason Lives. It's one of my favorites. It's a big nod to the Universal classic monsters. He gets resurrected by lightning. You get a new Tommy. Who cares? This is the first Tommy that fights back, in my opinion, aside from, I guess, Feldman at the very,
starting
very
over.
end of final chapter. But I love the film. It's ridiculous. It's fun. This is the first superpower Jason we get. He's literally punching through dudes. I think it's a great film. What about you, Hammer Time? Overall, what do you think about Jason Lives?
I think it's an awesome film. So we get back Tommy, this time by is Tom Matthews. Is it Thom Matthews?
Yeah.
It looks like it's short for Thomas.
Yeah.
Thom. I guess it's Tom.
It's Tom Matthews.
It's Tom. He's great in it. He does a good job. It's I like the whole Frankenstein aspect. You're right. You got the Alice Cooper song, and you got the hit with lightning, and they kind of play on that. He's got some really cool kills. I like that it's Jason back. I like that. I like the cast. I mean, I don't have any problems with it. This is the one I probably watched the most as a kid. Like I said, one of my cousins had the game for the NES that I borrowed all the time. One of my other cousins had Jason Lives on VHS. So that had a lot of influence in my childhood because I watched that movie a lot, that particular one. And I always, I have a special fondness for it. But again, it's Tommy's fault to bringing him back. He's like, oh, I'm going to stab him with this metal rod that lightning's going to hit it. But I was always creeped out at the beginning with the maggots over next to his eye. And he opens up his eye, and I'm like, what actor, who actually did that? Because I don't want maggots next to my eye. Jesus, I couldn't do that.
No kidding. Speaking of maggots next to the eye, what about you, Jelani? What do you think about the film?
I love this film. It is so great. Like, I don't know what Jason Lives did to me, but like, this is the perfect version of Jason for me. I don't know what it is about it. I love that. I love the American Express kill. Like when the counselors die and they get killed, and then like the American Express car falls out because she's like trying to pay him, like to stop, don't kill me, and it is so special.
Yeah.
There are little things in this film. It's like I like Alice Cooper. I like the man behind the mask. I like that movie. That soundtrack. It's so many little things. I like when the head gets crushed, but you don't see it. And there are just kills in this movie that are good. I like his.
They're very
face.
edited, though. They're very edited.
They are
down.
highly edited.
Yeah.
But I like the kills. I like the kills in this. I like how his face looks in this movie. The fact he's dead. It's just it's scary. I like how Tommy fucks this up for everyone.
Huh.
This is all his fault. All this is his fault. And this is the first time they're kids at Camp Crystal Lake.
Yes.
So they're actual kids like trying to like do this thing, and like Jason comes in and doesn't kill them. That's cool. I like that.
Point. That's a good point. I like it. This movie came out August 1st, 1986. It cost $3 million to make. It made $19.4 million.
Yeah.
Dylan, what do you think about the film overall? Jason Lives.
Man, I love this one too, man. I have so much fun with this one, man. It's got all the Universal homages. I mean, what Jason movie don't you love that it starts off with a 007 homage? Like, come on.
Yeah.
You know what you're walking into as soon as you see that. This is when they started getting fun with it and being a little tongue-in-cheek. And just when he gets resurrected with the lightning and it starts pouring rain, and there's just like the shadow over his face, but you've already seen that he's got like maggots and shit in his eyes. Man, it is just, he's so creepy. Like, honestly, I think, and he has parts where CJ Graham did so well with him, as I call him Tool Belt Jason. I know you guys have picked up on that. I don't know if you called him that always, but that's what I always call him. And he's just so scary and menacing at times, where he doesn't even, dude, I love it, man. I think this one has high rewatchability. It sucks some of the kills got splashed a little bit. You know, they're highly edited, as Robbie said, but they're still pretty damn good, even for being so edited. I mean, they're a lot, hard, and if they weren't, they would have been even harsher. Like, I remember there's, that more comedic kill where he gets his face smashed in and it's like a smiley face, and then he literally like guts or like chops three of those paintballers' heads off at once. But you see more of that in the slash scenes. But I love it, man. It's a phenomenal one. I have so much fun with it every time.
What about you, Brooks? Jason Lives.
I like this one a lot. This is one of my favorites in the series. I think it gives the franchise like a shot of fun, like makes it shakes things up a little bit. It stands out, I think, it's like, especially after like the two before, for me at least, we're kind of a little more falling into that formulaic thing. Like this one kind of like tries something different, tries to be a little more humorous in a way, but not so much that it, detracts from the fear of Jason. Because, Jason's actually even more scary now because he's like this supernatural Frankenstein boogeyman.
Yeah, I love it. It's a monster movie now.
Yeah.
And I love that transition from slasher to monster. It's how Paramount was able to keep the franchise alive for a few more films, right? Honestly, I think was transitioning from slasher to monster. So if you compare it to those Universal classics, I think that's very, very much appropriate. So out of 5 possible you digs, chat, what do you give Jason Lives? Hammer Time Holshoe, how about you?
I would give it a 4.5. It's not a perfect film, but it does, you're right. It's the Frankenstein zombie super Jason that I think we've come to kind of see Jason as. And I really think Matthews does a good job. I think it's a cool concept. I think there's some good kills. You're right. This is where the MPAA started to tone it down a bit. So we're missing out some good action, but I really like the film. And I get a special place because I watched it a million times as a kid. It's a 4.5.
What about you, Jelani?
I like it. No, I'm giving it a 5. This is one of my favorites. It tells a good story. Oddly, I like how Tommy is the screw up of all of this. Like, leave him alone. Do not come up with Horshack and try to like bring Jason back to life. It's gonna get bad for you. So, yeah, I give it a 5.
Nice. What about you, Dylan?
I give it a 5, man, no doubt. Like, this is, like you said, where they go in the Universal monster homage and turn him into the monster. And that's probably my favorite Jason is the monster Jason, unstoppable and, punching holes through guy's chest, man. I love it, man. It's I like Hammer Time said, I watched this one so much growing up. It's just so much fun, and I never get sick of it, man. I love it, man. Besides Kane Hodder, this guy, CJ Graham, who did the Tool Belt Jason, he is my favorite, man. Like I love his portrayal of Jason.
Nice. What about you, Brooks?
I guess on 4 or 5. It's a lot of fun. Like it's just one of the most enjoyable Friday the 13th, I think, that there is. And this is really this is the Jason, I think, that most of us have come to know and love. Is the Jason that the undead Jason.
Yeah.
The unstoppable Jason.
The Universal Monster Jason. I'm going to give it a 4.5. I think it's very strong. I have a lot of fun with this film. It kind of tones down a lot of stuff that is usually prevalent in these films, but I have a lot of fun with this film, and it's a great Jason. So let's take a look out in the chat. Let's see. Fable says 5, you digs. Jason levels up. The RV scene is great, and oh yeah, Tool Belt Jason.
Yeah.
Stefan says 5, you digs. Great resurrection of Jason. He's an unstoppable machine. Great soundtrack. Yeah, you're right about that. Stefan says another 5. All right, y'all, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're blazing through the final 6 of these films. Stay with us here at Pop Culture Philosophers. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Continuing on with our look at the Friday the 13th films, we're moving on to part 7, The New Blood. I think this film's pretty solid. it actually worked better for me on the rewatch than it did in previous rewatches for me. It's got one of my favorite Jasons. Kane Hodder does a great job. The look of Jason looks good. It returns to a little bit more gore, a little bit more fun, and it has Jason going up against his match. I think it's pretty solid. John, what do you think?
I love this damn movie, man. I love the movie so much. I think his costume looks amazing. I love the fact that you can see bones sticking through, and he's decayed because obviously he's been underwater for a while, because he was obviously Tommy put him under there. And then he meets his match, man. He meets Tina, and she beats the shit out of him. I do like the concept that she brought him back accidentally.
Yeah.
So they explain that, and then I love this film. I really love this film, and I know a lot of people knock it because it's just Carrie versus, they just ran out of ideas. So they took Carrie and
the Terminator.
Yeah, pit him against Jason. But I think it's a really cool concept. And if in a world that Jason can live and keep resurrecting, why can't there be girl powers? Fuck it, And he looks so badass. And I love that showdown between the two of them. It's one of the greatest showdowns. I love it. I love this film.
All right. Well, out of 5 possible you digs, what would you give it? In chat, chime in as well.
13 for Friday the 13th. If 5's the highest you can give it, I give it 6.
Okay. You really like this one.
I love this damn film.
I like it. Jelani, how do you feel about the film, New Blood?
I like New Blood. I like the concept of the best Jason fight there ever has been. Like, he needed someone to fight him. It's the best looking Jason, like in the face. This is the one where he's like decayed. I guess that's your mask, isn't it? Yeah,
he's been underwater for a while now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He gets all like decrepit looking.
Yeah.
He's got the axe mark too, and he's missing his eye, and it just
And it's the best representation of Jason and the best Jason fight. I love this film. It's the sleeping bag kills in this film. So, I mean, it's bam, just one, and it's enough. And he knows it's enough because it's like she's not moving anymore. The end. So yeah, it's a great film.
Out of 5 you digs, what do you give it?
5.
5, perfect score.
Because it's the kill. It has that kill, which is one of my favorites, and it's a great Jason fight. Like Jason fighting a telekinetic, yeah. Sign me up.
Hell yeah. Speaking of telekinetics, Dylan, what do you think about New Blood?
I love it, man. The makeup, let alone, man, is just what makes this movie so iconic. John Carl Buechler just killed it on this, man, and Kane Hodder also, where like they can show a little bit of his mouth. Kane Hodder just really, he didn't just like wear the makeup, man. He acted with the makeup, and he really comes into his own as the character. Doing the breathing and everything, like when the door is opened, and it's just a phenomenal showdown, Carrie versus Jason, man, and. You can't go wrong with this one, man. It's just absolutely nothing but fun, and I love seeing it, man. This Jason just is so cool looking, man. It's so iconic. I love everything about it, man. I just wish the MPAA didn't butcher it so much on the kills.
Yeah,
it would have really been. I think if the kills were like, if it got to do the cut, it should have been in the beginning. I think it would have been a lot better. I think, that's what they go in for, is the kills and stuff. And when you cut it down, that can disappoint people. But I still think it has phenomenal kills. It just, they cut away a little bit and they don't go as super gory. But, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that,
Out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give it?
I give it a 5, man, just for the makeup, dude. Seriously. Just for the makeup, like it's so iconic, and we're finally back at Camp Crystal Lake, like you said, Bobby. It was a few movies since we were there, and it's just so much fun, man. I used to think I didn't like it as much. I just always remembered the makeup, And then when I went back of like, maybe six years ago and I watched it and I was like, man, because I'd watched this growing up all the time and I was like, you know what? I was like, I do like this a lot better than I thought.
Gotcha. What about you, Brooks? What do you think about the film? And what would you rate it?
This one's all right. I wasn't feeling this movie as much. Like, I mean, I'm not against the idea of Jason, going up against someone who has telekinetic powers or anything like that. But I just didn't think this movie kind of felt to me like it was going back into the old Friday the 13th formula, but trying to like just throw in this telekinetic thing in the mix. But to me, it's pretty average. I'd give it a 3.
3 you digs.
Damn it, Brooks! I'm gonna find you.
Damn.
Kiss my
I give it
ass,
a
whole shoe. You can't touch me. You can't even see me.
I give it a 4. It's stronger than I used to think it was. Stefan says 4.5. Fable says 4.5 you digs. Jason looks awesome. David Hatch admits, I've only ever seen the first film. Interesting.
Damn it, David.
Jean-Claude says the first 4 films were classic. After Final Chapter, it got corny. All right. Speaking of corny, Jason Takes Manhattan. I actually kind of like this film. This may have been the first Jason film I ever saw. But I holds a special place in my heart. I do hate how it takes an hour to get to Manhattan. And he's mostly in back alleys, which is obviously not in Manhattan. But on the rewatch, with all that expectation away, it's actually kind of freaking fun. So I actually do have a special place in my heart for Jason Takes Manhattan, but it's not the best film. I give it a 3.5. You digs. Holshoe, what do you rate it? What do you think about it?
I enjoy the film. I think Jason looks great in it. It is Kane Hodder again, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He does it. I like the wet look. I like the mask. I really like the costume. You don't see as much bone. He healed a little bit since the previous film. I'm kind of I don't understand now how Camp Crystal Lake connects to the ocean all of a sudden. And you're right. Most of it takes place on that boat because that's probably where they spend a lot of. Well, it's expensive filming New York. We've already paid for this boat. Let's just film it all on the boat. And then the ending didn't make any fucking sense. Anyway, I do like Jason in it. I think Jason's got some really cool kills. And I still enjoyed the film. And you're right. It was big on my childhood because we had a movie channel. We had a satellite dish. And it was one of those big fucking dishes. You know what I'm saying? Not this little shit. One of those big dishes. And on one of the movie channels, they played this a lot. And this is the one that I would watch all the time when my parents weren't around. Like, so I just kept watching. And my dad let us. He didn't care. Let's watch RoboCop, whatever we wanted. That's RoboCop, by the way. That's traumatizing when they shoot him and repeatedly. Anyway, and I watched Manhattan Takes over and over and over, and then I just remember people mocking it. They're like, "Was Jason going to start doing everything the Muppets do?" Because that was just shortly after the Muppets take Manhattan. I love it, man. It's not the best film, but I don't think it's the worst. I'd say 4.0.
4.0.
Yeah. I don't think it's the best, but I don't think it's the worst. Jason himself is represented well, even though there's some problems with the film and the pacing of the film.
I got you. What about you, Jelani? How many digs do you give it? What do you think about it?
This is the first one I saw as well. Like I said before. I like Wet Jason. Wet Jason is
moist, as Brooks would call him. Moist Jason.
Very you. But yeah, he has his moments. I know that there were kills in this movie, especially the boxing kill, which are great. I mean, he does give his all to beat up Jason, and Jason's just like, I'm just taking this. And it never broke the mask. So I did like that part. Like he hit him a lot in the face and it did break. So there are a lot of cool things that I like this movie. It's like I said, it's the first one I enjoyed, and for nostalgia purposes, I'll give it a 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
It's pretty good
4
for
or
me.
5. All right. What about you, Dylan? What do you think? What do you rate it?
I'd say it might be one of my first ones I saw too growing up. This one I always remember catching on live cable all the time, man. This one was because I remember watching the later ones on TV, like this one. And then you go back to the first one, I'd be like, what the hell? Because my mom loved the first one. I'd be like, where the hell is Jason at? You know what I'm saying? But I love the music in this. The first song, I think, Dark Side of the Night or whatever, Darkest Side of the Night. I love it. It just sets the mood for it. You know, they lost money, or they, plan to do more of the movie in New York. I think at least half of it, or like 2/3, was going to be in New York, but then it just cost way too much. So, and plus it was supposed to be the last movie at Paramount, which it is the last Friday movie at Paramount. So, it's like a send off of Jason from the original company that always put out their all the first 8 films.
Yeah.
But I love it, man. I have a lot of fun with it. I'd give it a 4. It's not. It has problems, like the ending is a little goofy, but I even love the makeup. Like when he takes the mask off, that shit is like creepy as hell. I don't know. That face is so weird and creepy. It's not, part 7 makeup, but it's still, the sliminess and everything. It's cool, man. It's like, I enjoy it, man. And I have fun with it,
What about you, Brooks?
I like this movie, despite its flaws. This is actually the first movie I saw with Jason in it. Because like before this, and I'd only seen the first one, and I remember seeing this one.
Like all of us.
And I actually kind of like this movie, even despite a lot of it does take place on the boat. But I kind of think like the boat scenes like have a lot of tension in themselves because like being on a boat like that, it's like there's nowhere to run. Like in other Friday the 13th movies, people have all this room, they can run through the woods. They have escape routes. It's like like I said about Alien, like if you're stuck on this boat, like you don't have anywhere to go while this guy is just killing people. But I also like when they get to Manhattan, like how funny Jason is. Like when he looks up at the billboard or the guy in the hockey mask, or when he's walking down the street and he just like kicks those dudes' boombox over.
Yeah.
And when he's going through the subway train, just shoving people aside, just being an asshole. Like this movie is just like it's just a lot of fun, I think. It's like you can't take it too seriously.
So how many you digs?
Exactly.
I'd give this one a 4.
A 4.
Yeah.
Solid showing.
You know what's funny, Brooks? The guy who wrote the screenplay for the next, or not the next one, but Jason X, that was with the whole plan of it being on the spaceship. That's what it was supposed to be like. Alien meets future Jason.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It takes place all on a ship. Instead of a boat, it's like on a ship in the future, which obviously.
Yeah, I heard that Kane Hodder walked around New York in character for that movie too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, yep.
Scared the crap out of people. Yeah.
Stefan says 3.5. Fable says, I was so disappointed in this movie. I'm from New York, so I was hyped. At least the 15 minutes he was there was awesome. Shame the whole movie didn't take place in New York. 3 you digs. Sam Fett says 5 you digs. Jason is my hometown. Shows how wild New York is that nobody paid him any attention as he's walking down.
Right. He's normal.
All right, y'all. So it goes to New Line.
The Turtles walk by in that movie too.
So it goes to New Line, and we get Jason Goes to Hell, Final Friday. Let me tell you something. I was so hyped for this movie when I was a kid because they showed the poster had that silver Jason mask, right? And they were selling those silver Jason masks, and I still love those silver Jason masks, those chrome ones, right? This movie fucking sucks. I hate this movie. I think it was the worst experience on this rewatch. It was so boring, so ridiculous, it's so dumb. Why would you pay to get Jason if you don't know what the hell to do with them? And it feels like they just don't know what the fuck to do with them. Jumping from body to body, there's no real Jason. Kane Hodder's in it, but who cares? He's in it mostly as a security guard. This movie's a tragedy, and I give it 1 you dig because it does have some good special effects. So 1 you dig from me.
Damn.
Holshi, what about you? And you out there in the chat as well. Chime in.
I do like the opening. The opening's pretty badass when they all ambush Jason. And I do like the fact that the mask, his face has grown up. He's been wearing the mask so long, his face is like formed around the mask. That's the first time you really see that it's deformed around the mask. So I do like the opening. I thought it was badass. I hate the whole demon thing and that's Jason or whatever. I do like the concept that only like his heir or whatever can kill him. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a cool concept. I like the people at the restaurant that are making the Jason burgers or whatever. They're cognizant of the Jason mythology and they're cashing in on it. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of a cool concept. And there's some really cool kills. So those parts save it, but overall it ruined the whole mythology of the film and derailed it. And you're right. I think New Line Cinema was like, we'll buy Jason. We don't know what the fuck to do with. Mind you, they didn't buy the Friday the 13th franchise at the time. They just bought Jason. Okay.
Yeah.
They didn't know what the fuck to do with him at the time. And I think they give these people that wrote the film sort of like, you know, oh, you do whatever you guys want. We don't know. And it did set up the Freddy versus Jason, which took a while to get there. But I was really excited about that concept. You know what I'm saying? The end of the film. So I would say I give it a 3 out of 5.
3. Very forgiving. Very.
And I'm being very generous because of the cool kills, the cool opening, and it set up Freddy versus Jason.
What about you, Jelani?
I fucking hate this movie. I fucking hate it. It's fucking garbage. The fact that Jason isn't even in this film. Why the fuck is Jason not in this film? Like he's at the very beginning where we blow him up. That's kind of cool. But then you're like, oh, okay, we got his body parts. Now we're gonna put his body parts. No, this guy's gonna eat it. It's so shit. It's so like he's not even in the movie, and like he's just jumping from body to body. Who gives a shit? Sean S. Cunningham is the director of the first Friday the 13th. He's the producer in this film because when Paramount get the rights to it, they were like, Paramount had the rights to it, and then New Line Cinema bought them. Sean S. Cunningham was like, I'll be a producer for it. He never liked the concept of the mask. So he was like, any way we can get him out of the mask and make him just a killer again, we'll do that. So like he gave his production assistant the director title. So his director is a production assistant. He's never done a movie past this. So the script is shit. The characters are shit. It's 1990 shit. It's like that Phantasm movie we watched with the goons in it. 3, where you're just like, it's just so 90s. It's so 90s and bad, and like 90s TV bad. And then the worst part about this movie is the fucking bounty hunter that just shows up out of nowhere, and he's like, I'm the Jason expert. Where the fuck have you been? Where have you been?
Yeah, like introduce this guy, but they don't go to the effort of like actually giving him anything to work with.
Yeah, did he like fight Jason before, and then like he knows, or he's like the brother of one of the black people that have died by Jason's hand?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense why he's there. He's just like, I know this secret, and another born by Voorhees must be killed by Voorhees.
How does he know all this stuff?
There's all the Evil Dead stuff in it
Gold
too.
transfer?
And the Necronomicon's there, and I'm like, that's fine. Thank you for the Necronomicon, but like, tell me a story about the Necronomicon being there and Jason.
His
And
sister,
do it.
his sister was in Saved by the Bell. Just for the record,
I don't give a shit.
So what do you give it? Out
1.
of 5 you digs. 1.
0.
0.
0 you digs. This piece is a piece of shit. It shouldn't even be here. And on top of that, what makes it worse is like you could take this movie out and it doesn't make any impact anywhere else. In fact, all the movies preceding this don't make any sense. And I'm out. 0.
What about you, Dylan?
wow.
What do you give it out of 5 you digs? What do you think about Jason Goes to Hell?
I don't know what you're talking about though, Julian.
I know.
The guy
I know.
who's he's directed more than just Jason Goes to Hell. He grew up with the Cunninghams. So that's
I know.
how he
I get it. I get it.
no, I know.
get
I'm
it.
just saying I'm trying to get your facts straight, my dog. I'm trying to help you out.
I feel
But
you.
That's the only thing I was saying. I didn't know what you were talking about. Your points are yours, my man.
I know.
But yeah, I know Sean Cunningham. He don't like the mask or nothing, but I'm sure he's making hella money off that mask. But the whole reason New Line Cinema even took the rights to Jason was because Sean Cunningham wanted to do Freddy versus Jason. So this movie was supposed to kind of set all that up while everything was in development, and then everything stayed in development. So then they just kept doing Jason X until they could do something with Freddy
feel
versus
you.
Jason.
And
But
this is
that was the
first
only
we got
plan
some
they ever had with Jason was Freddy versus Jason. So that's why this weird ass script got made. And I think this movie's a little too weird for people because I don't mind. I grew up with like the 3-pack disc of this Freddy versus Jason or Jason X and Freddy versus Jason, that 3-pack DVD. So I used to watch this one a lot. It was the weakest out of them, and I think it has good kills. Over the years, I've learned to appreciate it because I've kind of looked into what the director, what the fuck he was thinking when he was making this. Because I used to think for many years, just like what you guys thought. And when I listened to what he was trying to do and how Sean S. Cunningham basically only gave him the role to direct this movie and write a script was get the mask out of here. So basically, he had to do something like, and that was kill Jason in the first 5 minutes, have him jump to bodies. You know what I'm saying? Because shit, to direct a Friday movie, I'd fucking kill Jason like that too and do the same thing over if I could direct a Friday movie. But I think there's good stuff in it. It is the weakest one probably out of all of them when on rewatchable. It has some cool monster stuff. It has the cool Necronomicon from Evil Dead, and that's the legit Necronomicon from Evil Dead. I have, a soft spot, I guess, from being a kid. I probably only still give it like 2.5 or a 3 though. But
So definitively,
5.
what do you give it?
2.5.
2.5.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What about you, Brooks?
The kills are good as fuck, man.
Yeah, this movie kind of sucks. But, I mean, it does have some, like, the thing I think that I hate most about this movie is how it fucks with the Jason mythos. Like, I do not like the body-changing worm thing. Like, Creighton Duke feels like he's just shoehorned in and there's no real explanation for how he knows what he knows and all this stuff. I hate that Jason has a sister and now his sister is the only one who can kill him. I hate that. It's so dumb.
Me too.
But it does have I think it has some good points too. I mean, it is still a pretty fun movie. But, I just, like, if they hadn't fucked with the Jason mythos so much, I think it could have been like a decent, all right movie. But they just kind of took it too far, and it just kind of sucks for me. It just kind of like this. It doesn't. I wouldn't say it ruins Jason because it's mostly been kind of swept under the rug. But I just don't feel like that was a good direction to try and take Jason. I'd give this one a 2.
A 2. Low score.
Wow.
Fable says, 2 you digs. Great subversive opening, but downhill from there. Love the Freddy cameo in the end. That's everybody's favorite part. For the most part, Stefan says, 3 you digs for me. That opening was so dope. And Sam Fett, who's given everything a 5 so far, says, 4 you digs, only because of Kane Hodder. This movie is my least favorite of the series. All right, Jason X. Jason in space. At this moment, they're like, fuck it. Jason in space. Right?
Space.
Like, what else are we going to do? At the time, it had one of the biggest budgets of the film. I had heard that it was $25 million, but now I'm seeing it was $11 to $14 million. It made $16.9 million. It wasn't very popular. I love this film. I think it's great. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's Jason in space. Uber Jason. He gets converted by nanotechnology. I think it's got great effects. I think it's got some great work done in it. I think it's ridiculous. I love the score. I really like this one. I'm going to go 4 you digs for Jason X. What do you think out there in the chat? John, what do you think?
I think, just for the record, I saw this multiple times in the theater because New Line seemed like they were sort of not sure what to do with Jason after Jason Goes to Hell. And they wanted to do Freddy versus Jason, but I don't think they felt comfortable putting their biggest property against Jason, something that might be a dead property. So they're like, oh, look, if Jason X is successful at the box office, we will go ahead with Freddy versus Jason. So I went multiple times to see this film just to support the film because I wanted to make money, and which it did, and we inevitably got Freddy versus Jason. It's okay. Like, you do have Kane Hodder. The opening's cool. Some of the death kills are great, but the spaceship, all that feels like a low budget sci-fi made for TV film. The robot he fights it's just a lady. It's just a lady. There's nothing to indicate she's a fucking robot.
Lady, man.
And then I like this crazy cyborg Jason. There are some good kills though, so that's what saves it. Is you got Kane Hodder. I like the opening. You have some awesome kills, and then it ends where Jason kind of begins. You know what I'm saying? They kind of set it up to kind of throw back. I don't like this whole idea that every fucking movie, Leprechaun, whatever, has to go to space.
Yeah.
There's a shit out of me. It's better than Jason Goes to Hell, but the bar was set pretty low. So I would say a 3.5.
3.5. 3.5. What about you, Jelani?
I love this movie. It's got the best kill of all the Jasons. It really does.
It's got some great fucking kills.
It's got great kills, man. The face kill is the best ever. It takes me off guard because this is the first movie, Robbie, I watched with you and probably Brooks and James. And like I watched this movie with you guys.
Glorious DVD.
Yeah, and Glorious.
I never did see this in theaters, but I remember you guys going to see it.
Yeah, and I freaked out when I saw this film, man. It was so like just that kill alone will like saves this movie because it was terrible. He killed a lot of people. I think we were counting Jason kills there for a little bit, just like we were doing with Rambo.
Well, they say like they have like a total kill count in this movie. He's killed like 280 something people.
Yeah.
By the time Jason X comes around.
Jason X, he's killed like 280 people. The lady that like follows him into the chamber, she's dumb as rocks. I can't stand her for some reason. I'm like, she's Jason. The first thing I would have done is when they woke me up, I'd be like, where's Jason? She was so casual about not seeing Jason until Jason started showing up. They're like, we found this other person that was frozen with you. And she's like, oh, it's Jason. Oh my God, lock him up. And they were like, no one did that. There was no alarm from her to do this. So because of that, even though there are great kills, I'm just thinking the person from the 20th century that knows Jason should be telling people about Jason. So I'm going to give this one like a 3.5.
All right, 3.5. Respectable. What about you, Dylan?
Man, I love this movie growing up. I watched it so much on that DVD triple pack I had. It's got David Cronenberg in the beginning. He's that doctor that's like, man, I don't want him frozen. I want him warm or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have so much fun with this one. So much fun. It's the best horror space film ever, man. Like when I say that, I mean obviously like the sequel stuff, like Leprechaun in Space, and there's a couple others too that went to space, but I can't think of them. Hellraiser, which I actually like. That. Critters, yeah, that one's not as good.
Well, Critters starts in space technically. You know what I'm saying? They're from space, but you're right.
No, I agree. I know what you're saying though, and it's weird though because for that one to start in space, it's not as well of a movie when it's completely in space. But yeah, man, this one's well done. Uber Jason is awesome, and the makeup on regular Jason is a little different. Like I think you mentioned that earlier, Robbie, a little bit more eye in this one, and you can kind of see Kane Hodder a little bit through this one.
Yes,
I felt like because a lot of them you never see his eyes even because they're just covered in black or they're just so messed up, Yep. But this one, it feels like they've cleaned him up a little bit. They've rehabilitated him a little bit, and he's got a little better face. But man, I have so much fun with it. I'm gonna have to give it a 5, dog. I love it. I love it, man. I have so much fun, and I can rewatch it anytime, man.
Dylan likes this franchise. What about you, Brooks? What do you think about Jason X? What do you rate it? What do you think?
I like Jason X. Jason X is a lot of fun, and the idea of Jason like being such like still like he's so dangerous that like they have to freeze him basically, and then like in the future he's back and like he's just for Jason, it's just same old, same old. Like, you know, whether he's in a forest campground or on a space station, like Jason just goes for the kills, you know. And it has one of my favorite characters, which is the guy who played Animaeus in the Spartacus series. You know, the guy who's the leader of the space soldiers or whatever.
Yeah.
He has that cool moment where like Jason stabs him through a door or something. And he's like, "It's gonna take more than that to put this old dog down."
Yeah.
And then, like, stabs him, and it's like, "Oh, yeah, that'll do it."
Yeah.
And then he comes back in the end, but he still comes back because of the regenerative nanobots. And then he takes Jason down. You know, he takes him through the atmosphere into this planet where apparently Jason will continue.
The writer of the script, he actually had planned like 2 sequels. So that was supposed to be like New Earth or whatever that he was landing on. That was supposed to be like New Earth. Like, I don't know, I guess they were traveling back different Earths. Because I told you it's supposed to be kind of like Alien or something.
Yeah. I'd like to see a continuation of Uber Jason.
Yeah.
But I just know you're 4 or 5.
I agree.
4 or 5.
Wow.
Very strong. Very strong.
I agree, man. Cool.
Out there in the chat, we got a 4 or 5 from Stefan. Says, love when he's hitting the virtual chicks in the sleeping bags. Sam Fett says, 5, you dig. Sci-fi Jason. Kane Hodder's body language is awesome. He is Jason.
He is Jason.
Let's talk about Freddy versus Jason quickly because we will cover this more in depth, obviously. But I really like this film. It feels like Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein for the modern era. You get the most epic battle. I love the epic battle between Freddy versus Jason. The story is decent. The characters are okay. They're kind of forgettable. I'm going 4.0, though, because it delivered on the promise of Freddy versus Jason, and I think it gave us a truly epic battle that had lots of blood. And, yes, it's not a horror film. It's a monster film, and I loved it for that. What about you, Hammer Time, and what about you in the chat?
I love the film. You get a great version of Jason. I realize it's not Kane Hodder, but I like the version of Jason they did. He gets some awesome kills. He's badass, by the way. It's a great Jason. You still have the correct mask. It doesn't have the split or whatever, but they have the good mask. I just like the look of Jason. And then, of course, it's Robert Englund back as Freddy. And Freddy is I'll be honest with you, Freddy's my favorite slasher, period, is Freddy. Jason's runner-up. I was always scared of Jason more as a kid because Jason felt like somebody – we lived out in the woods, and I thought Jason could get me, and I thought, well, Freddy's fake or whatever. But going back and rewatch them as I get older, I think the Freddy films, it's more creative. It's not just the slasher, crazy slasher, you know what I'm saying? It's more creative. I think Wes Craven's a genius, but we won't get into that right now. So I like the concept of how he brings them back. I like how they're having those pills to suppress dreams. I like all of it kind of brings, which is a reference to another Nightmare on Elm Street. You finally get something we've been waiting for a long time, which is the 2 great horror icons. And I like the cast. It's a great fucking cast. It's funny. It's great special effects, awesome kills. And the showdown is fucking epic. They beat the shit out of each other. I love that showdown. I love this film, and it's a 5. If I give it more, I give it more, but it's a 5 in my book. It's amazing.
What about you, Jelani?
Dang. You know what, John? I agree with you. It is the classic, like, Clash of the Titans that you want to see.
Yeah.
It's something that was promised in Jason Goes to Hell. You waited years for, and then you got it. And then not only did you get it, you got a great amalgamation of the 2, where he talks Jason into going into Elm Street to kill so he can be remembered. It's so the premise of it is awesome. The character's kind of stupid, you know, and I think they're stupid as hell, but it's so much. And like, I love how you're going to make like that battle the best freaking thing ever. I love how Jason puts like Freddy's arm through him.
Yeah.
That shit is awesome. I'm like, wow. When I saw that, it blew me away. So it's a great film. I love Jason and Freddy. I love that they have the same dumb people they gotta kill. The one where the girl dies, she's in the dream with Freddy and then gets killed by Jason. So he's robbed. So Freddy's robbed of his kill.
Yeah.
It is so clean. And it's one of my top 10 favorite kills in all of these. And it's like, oh, it feels terrible because that's the girl from Ginger Snaps. And I love Ginger Snaps. It's a great film. I love all of this. As dumb as it is, and I saw it in the theater, so it was it was made even better by me. So I'm gonna give this one along with John. I give it a 5.
5. Perfect score from Jelani and John. What about you, Dylan?
Man, I've always loved this film. Freddy is like at his like peak, man. Like Robert Englund really channeled some shit doing this one, man. And to me, it's more of a Freddy movie. And I wish we got Kane Hodder. I think Kurt Kurzinger or whatever the hell his name is, I think his kills are clean as hell. But I think he moves the slowest out of all of them, out of all the guys who played Jason. But I think he does good with his kills. I don't like the CGI stuff because that's a little cheesy, but I know it's really CGI. I wish they would have kind of done as much practical, like all practical. Wish they would have stuck with that, but it's it's the David versus Goliath, man. It's the fucking showdown we were waiting, 8 years or 10 years for, man. Like after Jason Goes to Hell, man, we got the one of the few good scenes, the glove coming out, man, and we didn't get that movie for years, but this is one of those things that actually held up, man, and it it's not a shit show, it's actually a really fun movie. Some of the characters are not as good, but I have so much fun with it, man. And I just watched it today, actually. So I had watched that and finished Jason X, and then I watched the remake, and I had the most fun, I definitely would say, with Freddy versus Jason. I'm like, man, it's just why I love this one, man. I loved it so much growing up, man. And I give it a 5. I give it a 5, no doubt. I almost was going to say 4.5 for No Kane Hodder, but I can't fault the movie on that. I'll still give it a 5.
What about you, Brooks?
Yeah, this movie's pretty fun. I like seeing Jason and Freddy go at it. It's good to see Jason, have an equally powerful, I guess, villain to face off against. And how and it's kind of funny seeing Freddy, who's like, this kind of jokey, quippy guy, go up against this like very stoic, silent, killer like Jason. I like how they, how this is all a scheme by Freddy to, bring himself back from the dead, and it ends up he ends up like, getting more than he bargained for, because, like Jason, once you get him killing, like you can't just like stop him. And, and Freddy he takes Jason down a peg in this movie. Like in the dream world, he like breaks him down and turns him back into that, that little kid who was scared and drowning in the lake. But then like when they bring Freddy into the real world against Jason, like it's no contest, In the real world, Jason reigns supreme.
Freddy's got some moves though, doesn't he? Though,
yeah,
even in the real world,
Freddy's no slouch. He can hold his own. But Jason is just like he's unstoppable. Like he knows no fear, he knows no pain. He's Jason, and he'll just roll over you. I'd give this one a 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
It was just so much fun. It's just a fun experience, I think.
Strong votes from the PCP crew here. Stefan says 4.5. Abel says, I freaking love Freddy versus Jason. I love how clever the story is. Awesome battle in the end. 6 you digs. All right, now it's time to talk about the remake. In 2009, cost $19 million to make. They made $92.7 million.
Dang.
And that wasn't enough for a sequel.
But they were teasing it for a while, but I'm kind of glad they didn't. I think the movie's okay. I applaud that they tried to encapsulate the first 3, if not 4 films all into one. I think the mask looks fine. Me and John were talking about that. I think the mask looks fine, but it doesn't look good on the actor, I don't think, at times. It's okay. I think it's decent. It's a parody of itself. Jason's too much like Rambo in this one for me. He's too smart, too clever, setting up traps. They're focusing too much on where he is and his environment. You know what I'm saying? And they did that in part 2. I get it, but like that seemed a bit more real, grounded, and dirty. This just feels like, I don't know. It's just that Michael Bay shit. It's just like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre one. I just don't really like that one. It's okay. I think it's honorable. I give it a 2.5.
Chainsaw Massacre?
Not the remake. I give it a 2.5.
Really?
You digs. I give it a 2.5. You digs for the remake.
So good.
What about you, Holshu? And you out there in the chat as well.
Yeah, I didn't really dig the mask. I thought he was too conniving and smart. I want Jason. Now, he's a good killer, but I wanted somebody more, I don't know. I don't want him thinking and sharpening his knife and planning stuff out. I'm like, what? That's Jason? And how the fuck? There's one scene where like they turn around and he's like on the roof watching him. I'm like, what the fuck?
Why did he keep that one girl alive that whole time?
I don't know.
That's like no Jason I know. Like,
yeah, exactly. I don't know. And then I do feel that they tried to squeeze. They're like, we can't remake the first one because people want Jason, so we'll just squeeze multiple films into one film. It's got some problems. I think they weren't sure how to reboot or what to do with it. I didn't think they should have done a reboot. I think they did a continuation and kind of maybe dismissed, maybe Jason X and Jason Goes to Hell. You have to have dismissed both of them.
Before it. Yeah.
And try to done a sequel. They don't have to reboot the whole damn thing like Halloween, but they can do something. I don't know. It's okay. It's got some decent kills. I like the cast, but 2.5.
I'll tell you what they should do. If they ever do one of those, like, let's discredit some things, like do an H2O or a Halloween 2018, they should get Corey Feldman back to be Tommy, and no movie after 4 exists. That's what they should do.
Oh, yeah, that would. Yeah,
That's
what the fuck
smart.
is he doing? Yeah, why not?
What about you, Jelani? What do you rate this film? What do you think about it?
I'm a little nicer to this one. I like this film. I like that. I like, first of all, that Nana Visitor, that's Major Kira in DS9, is the mom at the beginning. I like that a lot. I don't know why. I wish they'd made her more of a part of this in this film. Other than that, I mean, I like it. It's got what I want. It's got everything I want. So I mean, I'm not gonna mention it because Robbie gets sad about it, so I'm gonna leave it alone. But it does what it needs to do, and it does it well. So
go ahead and say the line, because it's like, what does he say? Like, your tits are stupid.
Your tits are yeah. Anyway,
they totally said it for a laugh, though. They knew that it would get a chuckle.
Yeah, it's the best sex scene in all these movies. Like, it's one of the best sex scenes in all these movies, and it sets up the fact that they all die. And it's I like the comeuppance of everybody in this film. Even Danielle Panabaker. She's the girl that's in the Flash movies.
Yeah, she's in Flash.
And like, I like the Willa Ford kill with the machete through the head, and that's so clean. I don't know what it is about that, and the arrow through the head for her the boyfriend guy who's riding the boat. I love that shit.
Ow.
I love these kills. I love this film. If you're gonna reboot the film, and I know you're not trying to go everywhere with it, but this is how you should probably reintroduce Jason to everyone. And I think, I mean, you could have done a little bit more, but it feels 90s, which is kind of cheesy in parts. So I'm going to give it like, I'm favorable with this one. I'll give it a 4.
4. Fair enough. What about you, Dylan?
Man, I enjoy this one, man, and maybe just my age and when I grew up, but I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot. Jessica Biel is phenomenal in that, and that movie was just so creepy to me. And I thought this one was the perfect way to reboot it, just like Jelani said. I mean, this is, if you never watched Jason growing up, and I did watch it, I still enjoyed it. I think this would be a perfect jumping on point. I get he's a little bit smarter or whatever, but they're trying to do something different and still be the same, but make it in their own way. And I did kind of like the little Home Alone traps he'd set for him, but I mean this like the little bells ringing. I mean, he ain't got nothing but time. All he's doing is just killing fuckers out there.
He was killing people.
So it's like it's not that bad. I do see like the only thing I guess he kept the girl because she's wearing his mom's necklace and she looked like his mom. You know what I'm saying? It's that thing. Just kind of like the Jenny thing in part 2 when he puts on the she puts on the sweater. He's thinking that's his mom. The kills I think are pretty damn good. I think they limit pretty well on the CGI stuff, which I was happy about. But man, I wish you would have got a sequel because you could have brought,
Yeah,
Jared Padalecki could have been like that, the front face.
just a
He could
guy
have
like the
created
Tommy.
he could have been like the Tommy Jarvis of this new series, man. And I honestly think, the first one, if you didn't like the first one or you like were okay with it, I think they could have done even better on the second one because, they would have been able to kind of do what they want, and that could have been good or bad. Because in the first one, they kind of got to show love to the old shit, and that's where you get that. I love the intro, man. The intro's iconic. It's like he just took out this whole group of campers, and we're just 20 minutes in. You know what I'm saying? Like,
In the
and
movie. Yeah.
it's got all the necessities that you want in a good horror film. And Jelani knows what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying?
So,
I give this one a 4 as well, man.
4. Okay. What about you, Brooks?
This movie was all right. I mean, I think it would make a good beginning for like a new franchise. It does. I like that it kind of delves a little more into Jason's origins a bit. Like it shows him, like it shows that the kids were mean to him, and it kind of hints that he was a good camper actually, which explains a lot about his how he's so good at killing. Like he's good at archery, he's good at hunting.
Yeah.
He's
Exactly.
clever. He's a trapper. So I think they could really like make something with this, but overall I think it's a pretty average movie. I wouldn't rate it as high as like a lot of the other Friday the 13th. I'd say this one was a 3.
3. All right. Well, there you have it. Let's see. Let's look at the chat. Sam talking about Freddy versus Jason said 4.5 you digs. Would have been a 5 if Kane Hodder was Jason. Talking about the remake, Stefan says 2.5 was kind of uninspired. Sam says the remake is okay, just not the same as the classics. 4.5 you digs. Ace says Jason was more of a kidnapper in the remake.
Yeah.
Babel says the only Friday I haven't seen. So there's Friday the 13th. We did it, y'all. We made it through all the films. Quite
Now it's
ambitious.
Saturday the 14th. We barely squeezed past.
I know, right? It's for Dylan. It's a little bit later. Anyway, thank you so much for staying up with us and joining us for Friday 13th. Thank you, John. Thank you, Jelani. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Brooks. Thank you, PCP Army. We are Pop Culture Philosophers, and happy Friday 13th or Saturday the 14th. We'll catch you next week with Bueller and Perry and some of the rest of us misfits for Roadhouse. Be there or be square, but just above all, be nice.